Hello there, I hope that you are doing well. Welcome to the introduction lecture of the Mastering Yourself series. This series is a follow-up series to the model series. This does not mean that you need to have completed the whole model series before you're able to watch this series. I believe that if you go through this series whilst you're also going through the model series, you're going to probably figure out who you really are as a trader whilst you're still developing your model. Is it beneficial if you have already figured out your model? Yes. Why? Because then you have probably already utilized that model within live market environments, and then you're able to truly resonate with the things that I will share during this series. If you do not have your model yet, no worries, you can still watch the lectures and you can still benefit from the psychological advice that I will share with you. For who is this series made? This series is made for the person that has found his or her trading model, but has yet to find themselves. Let me explain. We all know a thing or two about trading models. We all know, okay, this is what an open high-low close is, or this is what an open low-high close is. This is a strong support level, this is a strong resistance level. Of course, I'm utilizing very simple terms here, but you know exactly what I mean. What I'm referring to is that you have a certain understanding for why the market does what it's doing. This can be advanced and it can be simple. Doesn't matter. When you understand that the market has these repeating signatures that it's showcasing every single day and every single week, our job is to be able to capitalize on those signatures in price action. But here comes the thing. We as humans all have different things inside of our minds that make us behave in certain manners. What you need to understand is that the majority of traders, they do not understand themselves. They try to focus on technicals, they try to focus on getting to understand this certain understanding of price action, but they never realize that the issue was in themselves. Because you need to understand that consistency is a state of mind. And during this series, I will show that to you. Let us take a look at the journey of every trader. First of all, the introduction phase occurs, where you get introduced to trading through social media, through someone flexing their lifestyle, their fancy cars or fancy houses, whatever it may be, or you get introduced by a friend or family member who was trading, or you learned about trading through a advertisement online in which someone promised that you would make a shit ton of money through trading. And what is important to note here is the fact that the way that you got introduced to trading doesn't really matter. The fact is that you got introduced to trading. You got infected by trading. And that is what matters. You then begin to make trading decisions based on following someone's signals, or you begin to adhere to a certain trading theory, such as support or resistance, or you begin to follow indicators, or you begin to follow whatever it may be. You begin to make decisions within the markets. These decisions either lead to short-term success or short-term failures. And now a very defining point in the journey of every aspiring trader comes, and that's the following. The decision to either quit or keep going. Because when things are not going your way, the majority of people would say, okay, I'm going to quit and I'm never going to look back at this trading stuff ever again. But you decided to keep going. There was something inside of you that said, okay, I'm going to stick to this. No matter how much money I might have lost, or no matter how much pain I might have experienced, I'm going to submit to time and I'm going to arrive one day. And that's the mindset that you need to have. Because the majority of people, they run away from pain. They run away from failures. If you have the ability to say to yourself, I'm going to keep going no matter what until I figure this shit out, you have what it takes. Trading is harder than it seems. That's quite weird, isn't it? All we do is press buttons. In simple terms, that is this business. However, what you need to understand is that we need to understand when we need to press the button and when we shouldn't. And that right there can be achieved through a lot of technical understanding. But here comes the thing. You need to go through a lot of things in order to arrive at a technical understanding one day. And that is what the majority of people don't understand. They think they can just buy a course or they can just follow this guy and then all of a sudden they should be able to do that as well. No, that is not the case. Why not? Because even though you might arrive at technical understanding one day, you also need to learn how to master yourself. Meaning, that you are able to control yourself, that you're able to perform well when the time is right and to sit on your hands when the time is wrong. And that right there is what this series is going to teach you. Before we can begin with this series, we must first understand that the reason why you are not where you want to be is because of you. You are the reason that you are not achieving the goals that you set out to achieve. And let me explain. You are holding yourself back. I don't care how well you're doing right now. You're all doing something that is holding you back in your overall journey. And for the people that are, of course, not at that stage yet where they're able to make money out of the markets consistently, I need you to understand that the issue is no longer in your technical understanding. Surely, if you're completely new to my mentorship and you have not researched what I taught you, okay, then you have a lot to improve upon your technical understanding, and then psychology should not be your focus. But if you have defined your own model and you know what you're looking for every single day, every single week, during specific time windows, you need to understand that the issue is you. You are the reason why you are not where you want to be yet. Once you accept that you are the reason that you are not where you want to be yet, you are able to develop a mindset which allows you to grow and get better. And that is exactly the mindset we need to have in order to learn how to master ourselves. Let me show you a quote. It's a quote by Tom Dante and it says the following. Finding excellent traits isn't hard. Not fucking up in between is what is hard. Let me explain what I mean by this quote. Well, you all know, first of all, what a high probability setup looks like. You all know what your model suggests that a high probability setup looks like. This is your bread and butter setup, so to say. Why oh why are you not sticking only to that bread and butter setup, and why are you trying to dance in between? Why are you trying to do the wrong thing? Why are you taking setups that do not completely align with your protocol? And that right there has nothing to do with your technical understanding of the markets. It has to do with you as a person and understanding what makes you tick. Why do you do what you do? And that is the main issue that we will tackle during this series. During this series, we will focus on getting to know ourselves and becoming better at managing ourselves. That's the main objective. We will achieve this by becoming process-oriented, not only in our trading strategy, so not only in our trading approach, but also in our overall approach as operators of this strategy, meaning we are the person that trade based off our model. As long as it is not completely automated and put into code, we are human and we need to be able to execute that strategy properly. And therefore, we need to learn when we, as the operator, are likely to excel and when we are likely to fail. This has nothing to do with the strategy, but has everything to do with ourselves. I want you to have some expectations for this series. And those are the following. I cannot guarantee you profitability, but I can guarantee that you will get to understand yourself in a way that you have never imagined. Meaning we're going to take a deep dive into psychology. Secondly, by the end of this series, you will have defined psychological rules for yourself that allow you to manage yourself. Day in, day out, week in, week out. If you're able to follow these psychological rules and you're able to follow your trading rules, you can fill in what the natural outcome is likely going to be. During each lecture, multiple psychological hurdles that you might experience will get tackled. That's the structure that will apply during this series. You can reach out through the support page to share with me what is holding you back and will get discussed during an upcoming lecture. With that, this introduction lecture comes to an end. I hope that this lecture has provided you with some insight of what you can expect going into this series. I will try to upload at least 1 to 2 lectures of this series each week, and we will see how far we can go when it comes to the amount of lectures that will be produced. For the module series, in total 15 lectures have been released, and I will try to aim for around 10 lectures for this series at least, because I think that within 10 lectures, the majority of the psychological hurdles that you're experiencing are likely going to get tackled, and we're likely going to provide you with that structure, which will allow you to become a better trader, but also a better person in general. Be safe. Hello everyone, I hope that you are doing well. Welcome to the second lecture of the Mastering Yourself series. During this lecture, the topic of discussion is becoming self-aware. Why is becoming self-aware crucial for success? Without self-awareness, you are unable to reason why you are behaving the way that you are behaving. This means that you do not have a clear understanding of why you're doing what you're doing within the markets. This means that your results are influenced by factors that you simply do not know or understand yet. You can already see why becoming self-aware is so important, because if we do not understand all the factors that are influencing our own performance, how could we ever look to improve them? That is why we're going to focus on becoming more self-aware during this lecture and during this whole series. During this lecture, I will provide to you tips that you can apply in order to become more self-aware of the things that are influencing your own behavior throughout the day behind the charts. Becoming self-aware is a result of journaling experiences. This is why achieving consistency in trading takes a lot of time, because you need to go through a lot of experiences in order to see and journal how you react to those events. We all go through ups and downs, and how you choose to react to those ups and downs is eventually the determining factor whether or not you will achieve the consistency that you're looking for. Therefore, you need to understand how you react when things are going well and how you react when things are going bad. You need to go through experiences and learn from them. That is the most important part of this whole journey. Meaning, we go through experiences in order to become better and in order to learn. The moment that you change your mindset from I'm going through these experiences and these experiences suck to okay, I'm going through these experiences in order to become a better trader, immediately you will have a growth mindset. And that's very important to note. I want you to understand that hardships are often blessings in disguise. And let me explain what I mean by that statement. When we go through hard times, when we experience hardships in our lives, we often try to run away from that pain. We often try to ignore like something did not occur, or someone didn't say that to you, or that you didn't get into that argument, or whatever it may be that caused the hardship. During this moment, something is being taught to you, meaning when you look back at what occurred, you're able to look back at what happened and you're able to say, okay, I now understand why I had to go through this back then. In the moment, it might be too painful to look at the experience, but when you look back at the experience after it occurred, you'll be able to learn from it. And that is why I mentioned that a hardship is often a blessing in disguise. It doesn't matter what hardship it is, because there's always something to be learned from that experience. And that is what I want you to note. Journaling. Journaling is the logging of experiences with the goal in mind to learn from these experiences. Journaling is different than the logging of market opportunities. And throughout this lecture, I will share with you tips on how I would advise you to journal. During this lecture series, we are going to discuss many different psychological hurdles that you could walk into. But if you do not understand why you are behaving the way that you're behaving in the first place behind the charts, you don't even know what's holding you back. And therefore, you need to begin journaling if you're not journaling yet. And take the time for it, because journaling is very important. And I know people like to say, it doesn't really matter, I'm too good for this, my results are too good, I shouldn't be looking over my shoulder and looking at why I'm doing this and that. The moment that the tide turns and the moment that something goes off, you will have your journal to reflect upon and to look back at, and your journal is your best friend. When journaling, it is crucial that you try to be as open as possible when it comes to writing down everything that you did or thought, which eventually led to you deciding in the marketplace. That means that when you write down in your journal that you took a trade today, it doesn't mean that you just write down, okay, look, I bought the Nasdaq, this was the price level, I bought off and this was my target, this was my stop loss, etc. No, it goes way deeper than that. You literally need to write down for yourself, okay, what was my mind thinking about prior to opening the charts? Was I in a good emotional state, or was I in a bad emotional state? Was I angry about something? Was I upset with someone? Was I calm? Was I relaxed? All these things, they influence your own decision making process. But if you do not journal them, you never become aware of those things. Then you look at, okay, what was the overall analysis behind the trade? What was I anticipating? Where was my entry? Where was my stop loss? Where was my target? Etc. And that is the technical side of things. But I want you to begin paying more attention to the psychological side of things. Let's take a look at some journal examples. We're going to take a look at Trader 1, his hypothetical journal note. Today I came home from work and I recognized we had not reached the previous week high yet, which was my drawn liquidity for the day on Euro. A bullish breaker formed and I went market long. The market then took me out right away and attacked my stop loss. When I then looked at GU, I saw that GU already took out the previous week's high and began to show the signatures of bearish order flow stepping in. Man, I am so stupid that I did not see this. How could I have not seen that? I'm a failure. Now compare this journal note to the following journal note. We're now going to take a look at Trader 2 is hypothetical journal note number 1. Today I was anticipating higher prices for Euro and the GU. That is what my pre-market analysis suggested. I was anticipating the previous week's high to be the draw on liquidity. During the London session, I saw the market take out the Asia low and then I saw SMT with GU taking place. The market began to displace towards the upside and I saw bullish order flow stepping in. I was now looking for a long opportunity during the New York session. I was however not at home yet. I was still at work. Whilst at work, I could not think about anything else than that opportunity which was presenting itself on Euro. I had to rush home to make the New York session. It felt like my life depended on it. And I know that some of you are probably listening to this lecture right now and you're smiling because you know that you experienced the same in the past, where you knew an opportunity was presenting itself and you were at work or something along those lines. You were not behind the charts and the only thing you could think about was that opportunity which was presenting itself. I got behind the charts and I did not really check if something about my underlying analysis changed. I saw a bullish breaker present itself and I opened my long position. When opening the position, I felt my heartbeat rising and I began sweating. Something fell off. The market then went towards my stop loss and I got taken out. When I then took the time to look at if something changed about my underlying analysis, I recognized that GU already took out the previous week's high and that the signatures of bearish order flow began stepping in on both GU as Euro. The lesson to be learned is that when getting behind the charts, I need to make sure that I am not rushing into positions and that I take the time to properly analyze the markets to see if your initial idea is still valid or not. Recognize the difference in journaling? Trader 1 journals everything in a short negative manner, whilst Trader 2 pays attention to all the fine details which eventually led to him taking that trade. Trader 1 does not come to a lesson to be learned from the negative experience, whilst Trader 2 comes to one solid lesson to be learned from the trade which he can implement moving forward. Let's take a look at another hypothetical journal note by Trader 1. It's Monday and there was no high impact news scheduled for the day. I did not have a clear one-sided draw liquidity going into the session. I recognized the signs of chop potentially arriving due to SMT on both sides of the marketplace, and I still looked to trade inside of this high resistance liquidity run environment. I took 3 low probability trades resulting in 3 losses. The lesson to be learned is that when the analyst signals that an environment is low probability, I do not trade. Secondly, when I take a loss for the session, I need to stop and I need to reassess. What I want you to notice is that this trader only journals what he did within the markets, meaning it's a very technical journal. He mentions what occurred and he learns from that, meaning he says, okay, when the analyst signals that an environment is low probability, I do not trade. Sure, we all know that. But why did he still take those trades inside of that low probability environment, even though he knows that he shouldn't push it in that environment? There's a reason for that. There's something inside of his mind, inside of his thought process, which caused him to behave this way. And that is why such a journal note is, in my opinion, not extensive enough. You need to change this journal note into the following manner. What has to be added is that you focus more on how you felt, how you behaved throughout the day in advance of that session, whether or not there was something on your mind which you were thinking about, whether or not you were just in an argument with someone, whether or not you are upset. All these things, yes, they influence your decision making process behind the charts. And when you do not journal them, you never become aware of them. And that is what I'm trying to share with you during this lecture. Journaling the technicals is not enough. You need to journal your mind. You need to journal how you're thinking. How are you thinking about the marketplace today? Are you overly obsessed about something going to happen? Or are you reading the market for what it is? You need to understand that we as humans, we project onto the charts. We project our inner feelings or emotions onto the charts. And that can be a good thing, but can also be a bad thing. And our job is to recognize when we are likely going to behave well and when we are likely going to not behave well. And if you recognize that you engage in low probability environments, I want to ask you to think about why are you doing that? And if the answer to that question is not clear to you right away, it means that you need to investigate more when it comes to what is going on in my personal life and how is this influencing me. If we take a look on the second trader's hypothetical journal note, we can see the following. It's Monday and I was free from work because I used some of my vacation days to take this week off. I finally had time to look at the markets. I saw a bullish fair value gap form and what seemed to be displacement higher, so I went market long inside the fair value gap. The market stopped me out but then began to displace higher again. I re-entered inside of the next fair value gap which formed and I got stopped out again. Man, trading is not for me. I'm such a bad trader. My co-workers were right saying that this shit does not work. Now, what I want you to see right away when looking at this journal note is the following. First of all, it's a very negative journal note. You can see that the conclusion that this trader arrives at is that trading is not for him. He's such a bad trader. Maybe his co-workers or his peers were in fact right about trading not working. All of this stuff is negative. What I want you to see is that this trader went behind the charts on a Monday, not because the market signaled to him that something was likely going to happen, but because he was free from work, because he had the time to sit behind the charts. And let me tell you something. The market operates based on its own schedule. It doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about how you're thinking about the marketplace for that moment. No, the market is going to do what it's going to do, what it's programmed to do. And you're either on side or you fight it. And when you decide to fight it, you're of course on the wrong path. Because you need to understand that if you are free from work and if you have the opportunity to trade, it doesn't mean that there is an opportunity to trade. Okay? Journal that. Write that down for yourself. It's not that you are able behind the chart, so therefore you should take a trade now. No. When you are able to sit behind the charts, you look at whether or not the market is signaling to you that there is an opportunity. And that is what I want you to take away from this journal note. This trader does not come to a lesson to be learned from this journal note. Instead, he ends it on a negative manner. I want to ask you, do you recognize the difference in journaling between trader 1 and trader 2? Even though trader 1, his journal note was not complete in my opinion, like I mentioned, trader 2, his journal note was very negative. Why? Because there was a negative conclusion to it and there was no lesson to be learned from the experience. Let me share with you what has to be included in your journal entry. First of all, I want you to note down how you felt prior to getting behind the charts. Secondly, your thought process for the session has to be journaled, meaning what were you anticipating for the session, what were you looking for. Thirdly, your trade execution with the management applied has to be logged. And fourthly, you need to take away a lesson that can be learned from the experience, no matter the outcome. It can be a win, it can be a loss, it can be a break even, doesn't matter. There's always a lesson to be learned from each execution. I promise you that if you begin journaling like this, over time you will become more self-aware of the things that are influencing your own decision-making process behind the charts. You need to journal with one goal in mind, and that is improving, becoming better. You cannot dwell on past experiences, meaning don't beat yourself up for negative experiences that you had inside the marketplace. You need to dig deeper and try to figure out for yourself, why did you experience that negative experience? Did you follow all of your rules? If you did, then it's a good loss. If you didn't, then it means that you allowed for something to be projected onto the marketplace and you are responsible for that. And when you accept that you are the person who is always in charge and who is responsible for all of his actions, you can grow and you can get better. But you cannot get better if you constantly dwell on those past experiences. By journaling, we learn from past experiences to improve our own ability to perform moving forward. Meaning, we only journal with one goal in mind, and that is to improve. Your journal is your best friend. You never speak negative to yourself in your journal. You always journal in a way that's likely going to make you get better and learn from the experience. Once you have enough experiences to reflect upon, the fun begins. And let me explain what I mean by the fun begins. Now you need to begin changing habits to avoid reliving the experiences which you deem to be negative in the past. Meaning, if you're seeing that you're constantly making the same mistakes that lead to you having negative experiences behind the charts, meaning taking unrequired losses, you need to put systems in place which will allow you to avoid reliving those experiences. And this is what changing habits mean. You change habits by becoming aware of the issue and then by putting systems in place that will allow you to deal with that habit which is not helping you get any further. And then over time, that new system which you put into place becomes the natural habit. And this is something we'll discuss later during this series more in depth. The process of changing habits takes time. It won't happen overnight, but with enough patience, you will eventually arrive at a state of mind which allows you to make better decisions. That is what you need to keep in mind no matter what. The next lecture will be personal life and its influence on your trading. I want to thank you for watching this lecture all the way to the end and look forward to catching up with you during the next one. Please begin journaling properly.
Hey, before we proceed, a quick word from the sponsor of today's video, silkroad5.com. Big thanks to them for supporting the channel. Silkroad5.com is an international online marketplace where you can buy and sell both new and used items, or even offer services from anywhere in the world. It's like having a global garage sale and freelance market all in one place. If you've got something lying around that you're not using, maybe an old phone, camera, or even handmade crafts, you can list it in just a few clicks. Or if you've got skills like design, writing, or tutoring, you can offer services and reach clients from any country. What I really like is how easy it is to search by country, category, or price. Whether you're a buyer or seller, everything is smooth and super accessible. Silk Road also has a forum or a discussion board where you can share your experience about vendors or engage in discussion with fellow buyers and vendors openly. So if you're looking to earn a little extra, declutter, or find a great deal, check out silkroad5.com. Again, huge thanks to them for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel. Hit the link below or head over to silkroad5.com and start trading with the world.
Hello everyone, I hope that you are doing well. Welcome to the third lecture of the Mastering Yourself series. This lecture is going to be about your personal life and its influence on your trading. Before we begin with this lecture, I first want to ask you to think about the following question and write down for yourself the answer to this question. How does the person you want to become behave throughout the day? How does this person go about their daily routine? How does this person sit behind the charts, and act within the markets? I want you to really take some time to think about these questions before you continue with this lecture. And I will share with you at the end of this lecture some very insightful tips on how you can manage your personal life and set it up in a way that you're able to perform to the best of your ability. I hope that you paused the lecture, so let's continue. How could your personal life influence your trading is what you're probably wondering right now. I'm sure that if you have been trading for a while, you've probably already experienced instances in which your personal life influenced your performance. We as humans are emotional beings. This means that if we allow ourselves to get driven by emotions, we're not thinking reasonably. And therefore, when we're behind the charts, we could do stupid things. It is very important to note that as a trader, you need to understand that you are an emotional being. You are human. But behind the charts, when you're behind the markets, this is not allowed. You need to be able to control yourself to a point where you're able to just be in sync with the market. You can't be driven by the wrong reasons. Even though we trade based on algorithmic concepts, which are objective, we need to understand that we can project. And this is what I will touch on during today's lecture. We experience feelings of happiness, calmness, pride, fear, doubt, anxiety, anger, and many more. And therefore, we need to understand which feelings are likely going to help us perform well inside the markets and which feelings are likely going to help us self-sabotage. Because you need to understand that when you experience mistakes in the marketplace, you are the cause for those mistakes. The market maker is never going to get you. You are getting yourself. Why? Because you're projecting your own emotions onto the marketplace. If our personal life causes emotions to spark up, which are not right for good performance, and we do not manage this correctly, we will make mistakes. During today's lecture, I will share with you what could possibly occur in your personal life that could have a negative impact on your trading performance. I'm going to share with you tips and tricks on how to manage this accordingly. What could possibly happen in your personal life? First of all, a loved one passes away. This could be someone of your family. This could be someone that's not a family member, but a close friend, or just someone you truly care about. When this person passes away, you're likely going to be in a state of mind of grief. You're likely going to experience pain. You're likely going to truly miss that person. And because you truly miss that person, there's a certain void inside of you. There's something which is left to be filled. You feel a bit empty inside of you. Because you feel empty inside, you're going to make the wrong decision to put yourself in front of the charts and try to find a way of filling in that void. You try to just take a trade. You just try to get a positive emotion because if you win, you think to yourself, okay, now I'm happy, this feels better. You still grieve, but you feel like, okay, at least I have some dopamine hit. What's likely going to happen? You're likely going to put yourself in front of the charts with that mindset of trying to fix yourself and you're trying to get that positive emotion. All you can care about is that right there. You do not care about following your protocol, you do not care about following your rules. All you can care about and think about is, okay, I need to have this dopamine kick. That right there is a state of mind which is not good for proper performance. Therefore, you need to take the time to process that person dying. Secondly, you can have a nasty argument with a loved one. This could be a fierce discussion about something. This could be even a fight with, for example, your spouse, or let's say your mother or your father, whoever it may be. You get triggered and you get into a state of anger. When you're in that state of anger, you can't put yourself in front of the charts, because I'm sure that many of you have experienced this in the past. I know I did. Whenever I came in front of the charts with a state of mind of, okay, I'm angry now, or I'm upset with this person, whatever it may be, when I came in front of the charts with that mindset, I would project that anger onto the marketplace. And that caused me to behave in a way that was not good. And that is what you need to understand. You need to go through that experience in which you made mistakes and you need to learn from them and say, okay, well, the next time that I'm in this state of mind, of anger, or something along those lines, you can't do anything inside of the markets. Because again, just like with the previous point, you're going to try and find a way of experiencing a dopamine hit. You want to feel something good. And that is the wrong mindset to have. Thirdly, your boss triggers you and you become angry, you become upset with him. He could say, look, I'm not going to give you that free day, or I'm not going to give you that vacation. You will try and prove to them that you don't need them. You will try and go out there and say, look, I'm able to do this inside of the markets. I don't even need you anymore. That right there again is the wrong state of mind, because then you become angry with that boss and you go into the marketplace to try and show to them, look, I do not need you. Again, wrong mindset to have, because you're projecting that anger onto the marketplace. Fourthly, you are stressed about having to meet a deadline. This could be a deadline for school, for your job, for your own business, something along those lines. When you're stressed about having to meet this deadline and you do not focus on doing the work, you're going to go into the marketplace with a state of mind which is going to make you rush into positions, because deep inside of you, you know you shouldn't be trading at all. You shouldn't even be staring at the markets. You should be focusing on getting that work done, on getting that project done. But instead you go into the charts, and what happens? You take a loss. What now? Now you're upset about that. And you try to regain that equity, and you try to push it again and again and again, and before you know it, your account is blown. The next point is that you get scared by worldwide events. This could be because you're living in a country which is at war. This could be because you're overly focused on the news and allowing the news to control your mind and your thoughts. When you experience fear, it's very important to note that you can't allow that fear to influence your decision-making processes behind the charts. Because if you go into the charts with a state of mind of I'm experiencing fear, you're going to be fearful of taking risks. You're going to be fearful of putting on positions. You're going to be fearful of sizing up when the time is right. That right there is not allowed. You can't go into the charts with a state of fear. You need to be able to say, okay, this fear is only real because it is in my mind. I allow this fear to live inside of my head. You need to take control of your own thoughts and remove that fear by being objective, by looking at the facts and looking at your personal life and focusing on what you can control. When you focus on what you can control and you do everything to the best of your ability, you're going to experience less fear and you're going to go into the markets with a state of calmness. This is a topic which we will discuss further later during this lecture. And the final point is that you want to escape the job that you're working at. This could lead to, for example, you rushing into trades because you want it so badly, you want to succeed so badly, you want to become independent so badly. Let me tell you something. If you are currently driven by the wrong reasons, because you are experiencing one of the things that I've written down on this slide, you need to take control of whatever is occurring inside your personal life. Because if you don't take control of that, if you don't control your own thoughts, you're going to be emotionally driven inside of the markets. And that is not good. Because if you're emotionally driven, you're going to not stick to your own rules, to your own protocols, and that is when you make mistakes. Acknowledge that, accept that, and know that when you take control back of your personal life and you take control back of your own thoughts, you're allowed to perform again. And that is when you will be able to perform well. But if you're emotionally driven, if you're overly fearful about events, you're not going to perform well, because you're always going to project those feelings of fear, those feelings of sadness onto the charts. And that is what I want you to be mindful of. There are many more things that could happen in your personal life that could have a negative impact on your own trading, but these are just some general examples that hopefully provide you with some insights on the things that could occur. If you are experiencing other things in your personal life and you want to share them, I would highly suggest you to post them on the mentorship forum, because I know that others are also going through the same things that you are probably going through right now. Here you can see a cartoon of a person who has his hands in his hair. And the reason why I want to share this image with you is because whenever we are going through situations inside of our personal life, we often feel strong emotions such as anger, such as stress, such as grief, or just pain in general. And when we have these emotions, it's very important to note that we can't do the following. We can't utilize these emotions to then go behind the charts. If you think that you can go behind the charts when your head ain't clear, you're not going to perform well. You're going to fuck around and find out. That's a sentence that you can keep in mind, and it's not worth it. Surely, I know that the majority of you have gone through this, just like I have in the past, where there's something in your personal life which is bothering you, which is making you feel a certain way, and then you make the wrong decision to sit behind the charts, and you're then surprised by the bad behavior or bad performance that creeps up. And therefore, you need to understand that when you go through these events, you need to learn from them. Meaning, you need to say, okay, the next time that my head is not in the right state of mind and there's something in my personal life which is bothering me, I need to say, okay, I am not going to sit behind the charts. So if you want to see a visual representation of that, it would look like the following, where you would see a big cross between the behavior of being stressed or being angry and going behind the charts. Don't do it. As a general rule of thumb, I want you to understand that if your head is not clear, don't push it. That should be on the top of your protocol, because you need to understand that you can have the best technical approach, you can have the best model, but if you, as the operator, are not in the right state of mind, you're going to make mistakes. And you're going to look back at the mistakes that you made, and you're going to wonder, why the hell did I do that in the first place? It's because you're not able to think clearly. And it's okay. Learn from the experience and try to avoid it moving forward. What I want you to keep in mind is that self-awareness leads to growth. But in order for you to become self-aware, you must first go through experiences and learn from them. This is why during the previous lecture, the topic of journaling was of discussion, because during that lecture I shared with you how to journal the events that you're going through. And I hope that the personal life lecture has now given you some insights on things that you can look at that might be of influence on your trading performance. I want to ask you some questions, and I really want you to take the time to think about the answers to these questions. First of all, what are the characteristics of the person that you dream of becoming? First of all, how does that person treat their body? Does that person sleep well? Does that person eat healthy? Does that person engage in physical activity? Or does he or she engage in activity that could harm his or her body? All these questions, they need to be answered for yourself. Because if you're unable to take care of your own body, you're not going to feel optimal. And if you're not feeling optimal, if you're feeling a bit off, if you're feeling a bit maybe like, okay, I could be taking more care of my body and I'm not doing so. Why are you not doing so? Because of a lack of discipline. That lack of discipline is going to influence your behavior behind the charts as well. So in order for you to have better behavior behind the charts, you need to be able to take care of your body in a way that is healthy. Secondly, how does that person react to life's challenges? Does that person just run away from challenges, or does that person keep his or her head up and just face life's challenges with a smile? Because that person understands that they're going to grow through that experience. Thirdly, I want you to think about if that person spends time thinking negatively. Does that person worry about events? Or does that person look at events and looks at them from the perspective of, okay, there's something to be learned from this experience, so there's no reason for me to worry about the experience. All I can do is look at the experience from a perspective of, there's something to be learned here and I can get better by it. Surely my emotions might signal to me that something hurts, that something is painful, but that does not mean that I'm going to overly, obsessively worry about it. And fourthly, does that person spend time with negative people? You often hear people say that you need to be surrounded by like-minded individuals in order for you to become the best version of yourself, and that's completely true. If you're surrounded by people that drain your energy, that only try to tear you apart, that only try to cause you to think negatively, why are you even surrounded by those individuals? Surely I understand that if you're forced to be around them, such as, let's say, your coworkers or your boss, or maybe you're in a toxic relationship or whatever, if you are forced to be surrounded by those people, try to ignore their opinions. But if you're able to let go of those people, the best thing you can do is let go. Because you know that at the end of the day, you need to do what's right for you and stop trying to become socially accepted, because you never will be. People will always have their opinions about you, they will always say things about you, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. All that matters is how you look at yourself in the mirror and if you're able to take care of your loved ones. With regards to this final question, what I need you to understand is that when you're surrounded by individuals that have a toxic impact on your own mental state and on your own thought processes, you can't allow them to take up space in your own mind. Because if you allow them to take up space in your own mind and you allow them to take control over your own thoughts, you're going to go out there in the markets to try and prove yourself to them. You want to go out there and you want to show off to them. You want to go out there and you want to be able to show to them, look, you were wrong about this trading stuff not working. And that right there is a very toxic character trait which you need to take care of. One of the ways to take care of that is by not allowing those toxic individuals to even take up space in your own mind. And the most easy way to do so is by just walking away. And it might seem hard in the beginning, but over time, once you understand that the best thing you can do is to let go of certain individuals in your life, you will find relief and you will find calmness in your mind. Once you have a clear vision in mind of what the best version of yourself does each day, why wouldn't you commit to behaving that way every single day and every single week? What I want you to understand is that if you have a clear vision of the person that you want to become, if you do everything each day that that person is doing in order to become better and in order to grow, what is the logical outcome over time? That you're going to improve and that you're going to get to that level one day. During this lecture thus far, we have defined certain events which could be of influence on your own trading performance. In order to limit the influence of these events on your trading performance, we need to put systems in place to control the influence of these personal life events on our trading. Let's take a look at the first tip when it comes to defining systems for yourself. In advance of each trading session, I want you to take 5 to 10 minutes in which you just close your eyes and try to calm your mind. Focus on your breathing and get into a state of calmness. This means that you just need to take some time in advance of each trading session to just sit down, maybe do it on the ground, maybe do it on your chair, whatever. Just sit down and I want you to close your eyes and really just breathe. Focus on controlling your own thoughts. And if you notice that your mind is actively drifting to experiences prior or interactions with other people that you experienced prior throughout the day, then it's a warning sign because it shows to you that you're not able to focus. If you, however, are able to simply focus on your breathing and nothing really whirls up in your mind and you're just able to be in the moment, that right there is the ideal state of mind to be in. Because when you're in that state of mind, you are going to see the market for what it is. And you're not going to look to project anything because there's nothing bothering you on your mind. And that is what I want you to begin implementing. If you have never tried out meditation or prayer in the past, I would highly suggest you to do so. Because when I began implementing such rules in my daily routine, the ability for me to control myself behind the charts skyrocketed. And please try this out. I know it might seem a bit weird at first, especially when you have ADHD or stuff like that and you constantly are thinking about things. Try to simply calm your mind, because if your mind is not calm, you're always going to race, whilst in reality you should relax. And when you're in that state of calmness, in which you're able to just relax and see the markets for what they are, you're going to perform better than when you're overly worried about, okay, this is what's on my mind, or this is now what's on my mind, and etc. You know how it goes. Focus on being present. All that matters is the here and now. The past doesn't matter, just like the future doesn't matter. All that matters is how we choose to behave now. And that is what this tip allows you to focus on: being present. You need to control your mind. If you're unable to control your own mind and control your own thoughts or become aware of your own thoughts, you're not going to think clearly behind the charts. If you recognize that there's something on your mind which is bothering you, which is making you upset, or you're angry about that, the worst thing you can do is behind the markets, as I already described prior during this lecture. And therefore, I want you to really begin implementing this first tip, because it's going to help you recognize the warning signs. And if you recognize the warning signs, you need to listen to them. And you can't ignore them, because if you ignore your warning signs, if you ignore the signs that are being provided to you that something feels off in your own mind, you're going to beat yourself up if you go out there and make mistakes. So don't do that. The second tip that I will share with you is the following. Something that really helped me a lot to become more aware of my own actions and feelings throughout the day was logging what I did and how I felt. This means that I created a daily tracker for myself. And a daily tracker is the following. A daily tracker is basically a document or a database in which I try to log my actions throughout the day, such as the activities that I did. Did I go to the gym, for example? Did I engage in activities with my family? Did I feel a certain way? Did I feel loved? Did I feel angry? Did I feel upset? Did I feel anxious, or did I feel calm? All these emotions that I experience throughout the day that I am actively aware of, I try to log them. The reason why I log all of these activities and emotions that I feel is because when I do my pre-market routine, I can look back at how the day was prior to the pre-market routine, and I can simply say, okay, am I feeling calm? Or has today been one of those days in which stuff just didn't go my way and I feel upset about that, so I can't go out there and do something behind the charts? That right there is a level of self-awareness which I had to develop by journaling actively throughout the day. And I want to share with you an example of a daily performance tracker. Here you can see an example of the daily performance tracker that I use myself. What I want to do is the following. I want to share this document with you. I want you to try out this database for a month or so and try to see if it really helps you with becoming more self-aware. I know that for me, this has been a game changer, so I know that for many of you, it will likely be the same. In order to copy and duplicate the documents, you first need to have an account on Notion, and then you can go to the link in the description of this lecture, and you can go here to the top right, and you can press on this button right here, and it will duplicate the database to your own personal Notion, and then you'll be able to adjust all the variables that I have put in, because this is just a simple foundation which we can build upon. What I want to do is I want to walk you through the overall performance tracker. First of all, what I want you to see is that we log the dates. This speaks for itself. The date is simply, okay, what's the current day? As you can see, for the 11th of August, this is the log that we're doing. The first log that you can see is the protocol log. You might think, what do you mean by protocol? For me, the protocol log is the following. The protocol is not simply the protocol behind the markets, meaning this is not simply my trading protocol. No, for me, the protocol is everything that I do throughout the day. Am I aligned with everything that I know I should be doing in order to become better? That to me is the protocol. If I am not doing what I should be doing in order to become better, I will put in here, by the end of the day, when I have looked back at the day, disregard it. If I did, however, do everything that I know I should be doing in order to become better, I put in followed. This to me is like the most important log. Did I do what I set out to do? Yes or no? That is what I mean with protocol. Therefore, this log occurs all the way at the end of the day. The next part of this daily performance tracker is the following. It's the live part. Within the live part, I log the activities that I did throughout the day, and I also log if I overly felt something. Meaning, if we take a look at this live part, you can see, for example, that I logged that on the 11th of August, I went to the gym, I worked, I spent time with family, I prayed, and I was loving to my loved ones. But I could also put in the emotions that I felt. For example, I felt calm, I felt patient, I felt happy. Then I log whether or not I took a trade. This is a yes or no. If I took a trade, I log the outcome of the trade. And finally, I log how I felt whilst being in the market. Meaning, was I calm? Was I analytical? Was I patient? Or was I overconfident? Was I fearful? I've provided you with some examples of things that you can log within this overall tracker, but please note that many more things can be added to these logs. The options that I've provided to you that you can just select off, they are rather simple and you can add way more to them, but these were just the options that I thought would be applicable for everyone. Personally, I also log, for example, my sleep duration and my energy waking up and all of that stuff, but that might be overkill. But please just focus on trying to apply this for a month or so. When you try this for a month, you're likely going to see repeating variables that are influencing your performance behind the markets. If you want to get this tracker, you can just go to the link in the description and you can press here on this copy button and it will be duplicated to your own Notion account. With that, this lecture comes to an end. I hope that you found it insightful. Next lecture will be on dealing with fears in an effective manner. Be safe. Hello there. I hope that you're doing well. Welcome to the fourth lecture of the Mastering Yourself series. This lecture is going to be about the most important topic probably of this whole series, and it is fear. Fear can be detrimental in your development, and therefore during this lecture I'm going to do my best to guide you as best as possible with helping you learn to deal with fear. Dealing with fear is absolutely required if you want to make it in this business. And therefore, I want you to really take some time to listen closely to what I'm about to share with you. First of all, I need you to understand that fear is in your head, meaning you are the person that creates fear. Fear is not something that gets thrown upon you. No, fear is all caused by your own response to certain events in your life. What I need you to understand is that fear is a result of you reacting in a certain way to an experience from the past and allowing that experience to influence your judgment of future experiences. So let me simplify that. I know it's a lot that I've written down here. When you go through a certain event that is painful to you, and you do not take control of the response to the event, your mind will look at that event and think, okay, well, I experienced something negatively back then, so therefore all future events or experiences that look like they will be similar to the past event will be negative. And therefore what you do is you project your fear onto whatever is about to occur. And by doing so, what you need to realize is that you are projecting your own sense of fear, which will automatically influence your own ability to do something or to perform. Because how many times have you had a bad day, for example, or had a bad session, and you were like, okay, fuck, I made some mistakes during that session. Does this define me? Have I lost my skill? Have I lost my ability to trade? And what do? You go out there going into the next session or into the next day, and you notice all of a sudden that you feel a bit of fear. Even though your model presents itself, you feel like, something feels off. Why am I not as confident as I was the day prior or the week prior? It's because you did not give the experience from the previous day or session a proper place in your mind. Instead, your mind is still processing the experience, and therefore, because that experience was negative, your mind will try to avoid similar experiences, and therefore you become fearful of doing the right thing. Because during this lecture, I will share with you everything that you can do in order to deal with that fear. But before we can look at everything that we need to do in order to deal with fear, we must first take a look at what potential signs of fear you might be experiencing. All the energy that you spend worrying about events can be transformed into positive energy, which will help you get better. And that is what I will share with you. As long as you keep on worrying in your own mind, you're never going to reach your full potential. So at one moment, you need to say to yourself, I'm going to stop worrying, and instead of running away from everything that I'm fearful of, I'm going to take a look back at what happened and I'm going to deal with it. Because you need to realize that the majority of people are too scared to look at their fears. Instead, they try to hide and they try to run away from them. And what occurs then is that their subconscious automatically begins to project those feelings of fear onto their own actions. And that is something that we cannot allow to happen in order to perform. Instead, we need to face the fears. And by facing the fears, we learn to control ourselves. And once we learn to control ourselves, we become better and we learn from those experiences. First of all, I need to ask you the question, do you have a protocol that you follow? If you do not have a protocol that you follow, if you do not have a model for yourself, if you do not have set rules that make you take a trade or not take a trade or not even look at the markets, you should not worry about, oh, am I maybe fearful about events? Because you need to realize that many people think that they have a lot of psychology issues. They think that there are a lot of issues in their mind and that is why their results are not where they want them to be. Whilst in reality, they do not have a protocol that they can adhere to. If you do not have a protocol that you can adhere to, how do you measure your results? How do you measure whether or not you are doing the right thing? Everyone can be lucky every single now and then. Everyone can press buy and be basically lucky with the fact that the market goes higher, or everyone can press sell and basically be lucky with the fact that the market goes lower. But how are you able to define that you're doing the right thing? That is why having a protocol based on sound logic is crucial. But when you have that protocol, when you have those rules, when you have that model that you defined yourself based on, for example, everything that I'm teaching within my mentorship based on time and price, if you have those rules and you then still experience a sense of fear when it comes to executing based upon those rules or not executing, then there's something else that's going on, and that is in your mind. Because when you have the protocol, when you have the model that you adhere to, and you fail to execute that every single week or every single day, that means that something else, which is inside of your head, is influencing your decision-making processes. And we need to take care of those things. Let us take a look at some of the fears that you might be experiencing that are holding you back in your journey. The first fear that we're going to take a look at is the fear of losing. The fear of losing is very common amongst new traders. I personally had to deal with this as well. The fear of losing stems from the following. When someone is growing up, they get this idea built in their head that they need to become successful. They need to become successful because their parents tell them that success is what matters, or their friends tell them that success is what matters. And when you look around in society, you see that these people that achieve a certain level of success get basically thrown up in the air, almost like they're holy or something. Because we see that occur, we immediately want to also strive towards achieving some form of success. And success is different for everyone, meaning my definition of success is different than yours, for example. But we all have a certain idea of what living a successful life looks like. We begin working towards that. We begin working towards achieving that level of success. On that journey, we will figure out rather quickly that in order to achieve that level of success, we first need to lose. We first need to fall flat up on our faces and we get hit by life. How we deal with that experience will be very crucial. Some people quit right away, but others just keep going. Those people that decide to keep going are first of all the people that will eventually make it. But in order for them to make it, they must deal with the fear that they will experience after they fell flat on their face. Because once you fall flat on your face, you need to look back at that experience and you need to deal with it. If you don't, that experience will cause you to become fearful about future similar experiences. So let me give you a simple example when it comes to trading. If you take a loss and you don't know what you're doing, you're completely new in this business, you take that loss and you lose some money. What will happen the next time that you put on a trade? You will immediately look back at the past experience in which you lost money and you will feel my God, I don't want to experience that again. You become fearful. You become fearful of losing money. And there has to be a system in play in order for us to deal with that. And that is what I will share with you. All the fears that I will mention during this list will be taken apart one by one, meaning I will share with you the definition of those fears, the signs of those fears being present, and how I would advise you to deal with them. The second fear that can occur is the fear of missing out. This fear of missing out is also pretty common, in my opinion, when it comes to not only traders that look through the markets through our perspective, but traders in general. And the reason why this fear is so common is because we seem to believe that just because we have an edge over the markets, just because we have a model, we should push that model. That is what everyone says. You should push your model when the time is right. You should just go out there and push it, push it, push it. You just have to open up charts at 9:30 a.m. and you have to be behind the charts until 4 p.m., until the market closes. How many times have you done that? How many times have you wanted to trade every single minor fluctuations? That is not efficient trading. Because that right there shows that you're fearful of missing out on that one opportunity. And that can be detrimental to your own development as a trader. Because it is not about catching every move. It's about catching the highest probability moves according to your own analysis. Those are the moves that allow you to risk equity efficiently. The third fear that we're going to take a look at is the fear of judgment. The reason why I want to put this fear out there, even though it's more uncommon than the previous fears, is because I can really resonate with this fear. When you put yourself out there on, for example, social media, or you begin sharing your results with others, other people will share their opinions about whatever you're doing. And that stuff could influence your own decision-making processes. And I know that some of you have big aspirations, and therefore I really want to give you my advice when it comes to dealing with this fear. Because even if you don't have the aspirations of putting yourself out there on social media or sharing your results with others, you are still going to experience this fear if you even share your experiences with, for example, let's say your loved ones or your family members. Because how many times have you been at a family dinner and you shared with them, look, this is how much money I made the past month or the past 6 months or the past year with trading. How many times did someone look at you and just tell to you straight in your face, is that all you made? I thought traders made way more. And what occurs then? You become triggered by that and you immediately begin to think to yourself, oh my God, I need to go out there and I need to prove myself to this person. All because you allowed their judgment to influence your own decision-making processes behind the charts. The fourth fear that we're going to take a look at is the fear of sizing up. This basically means that some people are scared of putting more risk behind positions. They're scared of putting more contracts behind their model. And this is a fear that can be tackled rather quickly, but not quickly in the sense of, oh, it is just a matter of, oh, I wake up one day and I'm trading 10 contracts or 15 contracts from 1 or 2 contracts. No, this fear can be tackled through the following, where you make the decision to size up one day and you slowly begin working towards it, and it takes time. The fifth fear that we're going to take a look at is the fear of being right and achieving success. This is going to be a rather special fear to discuss, but I'm very excited to discuss it with you. Because if you do not prepare for success to come, the moment that it comes, you will be shocked about how it will come. Because you're going to feel like, what the F is going on in my life? Should I be even out here achieving this? Or should I even be deserving of this? And those fears have to be tackled in order for you to stay consistent with whatever you're doing. The first fear that we're going to tackle is the fear of losing. The fear of losing comes because you put too much emotional weight on the outcome of each trade. This is a result of your mind reverting back to past experiences in which you experienced pain. Your mind wants to avoid experiencing that pain again in the future. This is normal human behavior. But let me tell you something. Normal human behavior does not work in trading. In order for you to succeed in this business, you need to stop thinking like every single other person does. You need to begin taking control of your mind. If you experience a loss, If you blow a funded challenge, if you blow a funded account, you experience pain. Because you experience that pain, you are going to try and avoid that pain or something similar in the future. And because you try to avoid that pain, you are actually going to cause yourself to experience similar pain again. Because you are going to project onto the markets. You're going to project your inner fears, and as a result of that, you're not going to do the right thing. You are focused on the outcome over following the process. And as traders, we need to only think about the process. Am I doing the right thing at this moment in time? If the answer to that question is no, I need to stop. If the answer to that question is yes, I can continue. This can be a result of you not setting realistic expectations for yourself. The reason why you're not setting realistic expectations for yourself is because you are looking around and seeing what other people are doing, what other people are achieving. And because you are comparing yourself to someone else, you are not focused on your own journey. You are trying to basically lift yourself higher to come to the level that someone else is at. But in order for you to get towards that level, you must first go through a shit ton of other experiences. And that is what I want you to understand. This fear gets conquered by putting strict systems in place which tell you what to do and when to do it. Until you do this, you are always going to be fearful of losing equity because your trades are hit and miss due to irregular executions. Your trades are based on senses of hope. I feel like the market is going to do something. I feel like it's going to run towards it buys at equity or sells at equity pool. I feel like it's going to do something. No, you can't feel. You need to know what the market is going to do. You need to know exactly what you're looking for and when you're looking for it. And until you get to that stage, you're always going to be fearful of losing because your executions are based on nothing. Focus on defining the protocol and focus on following that protocol. When you do that and you stop thinking about reaching the, let's say, the funded challenge passing or the X amount of percentage that you set for yourself as a target each month, but you instead think about, okay, I know that this is my protocol, this is what my protocol suggests me to do right now. When you begin focusing on that, your results will come. And that is what you need to understand. Your desired results come as a natural result of you doing the right thing day in, day out. That is why during the previous lectures, I've put so much emphasis on journaling and becoming self-aware. Because when you become self-aware of your own actions and you are able to look back at what you did and be truthfully honest with yourself and say to yourself, okay, did I follow the protocol? Yes or no? You'll be able to grow. The second fear that we're going to look at is the fear of missing out. This fear stems from the false belief that you need to be part of every single move. If you look at this statement, you can already see how freaking stupid it is to believe that you need to be part of every single move. Why would you have to be part of every single move? If you make a few $1,000s within one trade, why would you have to risk losing the money that you just made simply because you want to be a part of the next move? You're greedy. You want to do more. You want to show off. You want to show to the people around you, look, this is how much money I made. Look, this is my ability to go out there and trade. No, you can't do that. Are you in a rush to get somewhere? Are you in a rush to get to a certain destination? If you are, I need to ask you, why are you in a rush? Is time running out? Is the market not going to deliver next week or the next month or the next year? Of course it will. So why would you try and rush the process? Do you want to prove yourself to others? Do you want to go out there and show off to the world, look, this is what I'm capable of, therefore I need to trade every single move in order to show that off? This fear gets conquered by understanding how many opportunities there are each day and each week. And I am a big preacher of this, but you only need 1 or 2 high probability setups each week. What would that do for you if you would just focus on capturing that 1 or 2 high probability trades each week? Let's say you make a few $1,000s profit in each day that you make money. How good would that be? What would that do for you? And over time, the equity which gets risked can be increased. And you begin making tens of thousands of dollars with that one trade. What would that do for you? How good would that feel if you would be able to just pick that one high probability move each week? Why do you have to be in there from 9:30 a.m. till 4 p.m. So from the market open to the market close? Simply because you can trade doesn't mean you have to trade. Simply because you can justify each freaking market move to the minute, it doesn't mean that you have to be out there trading every single minute. This right here was something I had to conquer in myself as well. I'm at a stage where I'm capable of seeing literally trades every single 30 minutes. I can be out there trading every single 30-minute interval, every single 30-minute cycle. I could be out there finding a high probability setup. But over time, I came to realize that that is not efficient. Efficient trading is focusing on one high probability trade setup during each session or either during each day. But then you also need to realize that I'm not trading every single day. I'm only trading the days that I deem high probable, the days that I believe there to be solid market opportunities that align with my protocol. If those environments are not present, I don't care about what the market is doing. I don't care about fluctuations in the markets. I am doing something else. But if you put yourself out there, sitting in front of the charts, even though you know that it is not a high probability environment, surely when you're tape reading or demo trading, go ahead, be my guest to learn from that environment. But if you go out there and push it on a live account inside that low probability environment, of which you already knew it was a low probability environment, that right there is stupid. Because it shows that you're not doing the right thing. Your protocol tells you that the environment is low probable. Why would you go out there and try to push it in that low probability environment? You know that tomorrow there will be another high probability environment, just like there was the day prior. So why would you try and risk equity in an environment that is not favorable? Look, market moves need to make sense. You can't care about the market moving a few hundred points and you not being on board with that. No. If you did not anticipate that market move to take place, who cares? There's a new opportunity coming tomorrow or next week. The market is going to continue to print. Stop thinking that you need to catch every single expansion, because you don't. You only need to capture the expansion which is according to your own protocol, which is aligned with your own rules. The next fear that we're going to tackle is the fear of judgment. First of all, the question that always comes to people that face this fear is the following: what if they judge me? What if my parents think about me this or this? What if my friends don't like the fact that I'm trading? What if they would judge my endeavors? What if my coworkers think about me in a certain way once I share with them that I begin trading, or once I share with them my results? This question, it should be completely irrelevant to your own journey. Why would you care about the opinions of others? If something is working for you, why would you try and go out there and show to others that it's working for you? I know it's human nature to want to seek approval from others, but at some point you need to say, fuck that shit. The only person I care about is the man in the mirror, or the lady in the mirror for the female students under me. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks of you. All that matters is that you're able to live a fulfilled life in which you're grateful for the ability that you have to trade, in which you are grateful for the ability that you have to pull money from the markets and to take care of your loved ones. It doesn't matter what people at your work or what other family members or what some certain friends might say about your trading endeavors. It doesn't freaking matter. Ignore their opinions and just go with the flow. And if you would eventually also just walk away from those individuals, you're going to experience more of a sense of peace inside of your own mind. Some people should not be in your life anymore. When you realize that and you make the decision to distance yourself from certain individuals, you're going to find a sense of joy that you never experienced before. When I removed all of the toxic individuals, which were not helping me get better and helping me grow, my life, like it improved drastically. Like I can't even compare the person that I am today to the person that I was prior to the fact that I removed certain individuals of my life. Do not seek external validation in the opinions of others because it is all meaningless. Let me explain. If you go out there and you try to seek validation from others whilst you're unable to validate yourself, you are going down a very dark path. The moment you begin making money, it's very important that you stay humble. You need to stay calm. Don't speak about what you earn to others. Because if you go out there and you speak to others about what you're making and what you earn, you're going to invite them to the conversation about how you should make use of that money, how you should go out there and use your profits, what you should do with all of that equity that you have gained. Don't care about what those people say. The reason why you shouldn't care is because if you go out there and you put yourself in that environment in which you will allow those people to share their opinions about whatever you're doing, you're going to go out there the next day in the markets or the next week and you're going to feel like, I'm not happy with the advice they gave me. They said I should have been making way more money before I asked their advice, so therefore what will you do? You will try to push it simply because you wanted to seek approval from that person that you asked advice from. And that right there is a very toxic character trait. If you go out there and you put yourself in the environment where you allow others to watch over your shoulder, how you're trading, whatever you're doing, what you're doing with your profits, all of that stuff, if you put yourself in that environment, be mindful of the fact that you cannot allow the judgment and the opinions of others influence your own actions. Because if you allow others to take control of your life, you are losing control yourself as a result of that. You need to be the person that sits in the driver's seat. And that means that you can't go out there and try to basically seek approval in the opinions of others, because at the end of the day, it is meaningless. It doesn't mean jack shit. All that matters is that you're able to do what is right for you and the people that you should keep very close to you, such as your loved ones. When you put your name out there, people will always have something to say about what you are doing. Be prepared for that. Be prepared for their judgments to come upon you. What I want you to understand is that at the end of the day, it's a very rare character trait for people to possess, that they're able to look at your success and that they're able to vocally share with you that they're proud of you. People do not like to see someone doing better than them in any aspect of life. Humans are very competitive. And because humans are that way, you need to be very cautious when it comes to sharing what you are planning on sharing with the people that you think are a safe space to you. Don't think that you can go out there and go to all of your family members and share with them, this is what I'm doing. This is how much I'm making each month. This is everything that I'm capable of doing in the markets. Or to friends. When you do so, you're going to see the real nature of the people that were close to you. And like I mentioned, don't try to seek for that external validation. At the end of the day, in my opinion, it's better to just keep everything to yourself. Try to find a few people that you know you can trust, that you know won't change their opinions about you or whatever, but don't really try to seek for that external validation. I went down the path of seeking for that validation in the opinions of certain family members, and let me tell you something, it did not end well. In fact, I would say and argue that it actually caused us to harm the relationship between us, because as a young guy, you think that the fact that you're achieving a certain level of success is a good sign also for your family members. But when I literally saw in my family members their eyes that they felt a sense of, here's this arrogant guy, or here's this guy telling me again about everything that he has done, or everything that he's capable of doing, and all of this stuff. When I saw that right there, I knew, okay, I should have not said that. And I don't want to live in regret. I don't live in regret. I deal with experiences in a way that I learn from them always. But I do give the advice to new people that if you begin making money, don't try to talk about what you're making. Because if you try to go out there and talk about what you're making, it will actually feel uncomfortable at first, because you will realize that the amounts of money that we're able to pull out of these markets every single month is just, it's tremendous. And if you compare that to someone making just an average monthly salary of the average person, let's say a 3 to 5K a month US dollars, then that's of course crazy, because that is what you could risk on one trade. And that right there is a realization that I had to basically endure the hard way, and I had to figure out yeah, due to the wrong path. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, we're all doing life for the first time. And I just wish that some of you will basically learn from everything that I had to go through when it comes to allowing the judgment of people close to me to influence my own mental state, because it actually hurt me to see the people that I thought really cared about me to just basically see the disgust in their eyes about me doing well. Be mindful with regards to what you share and with whom you share it. At the end of the day, you need to be able to look in the mirror and you need to be proud of yourself. You need to be proud of all the work that you have done to get to the point where you are at now. That is the feeling that you must strive for. That is the only true feeling that matters, because that right there shows a level of self-respect and fulfillment, that you are proud of your own achievements. And because you can be proud of your own achievements, you know that if you put in the same time and the same effort, you will be able to achieve even more. And that right there is the growth mindset that I want you to achieve. That right there is what I want you to basically experience for yourself. When you come to that stage, there's no end to this journey, because until the day you die, you will always look to improve. You will always look to get better. And especially within the markets, the moment that you're affected by them, you will never quit. You will never stop, because you always know that there's someone out there that's doing way better than you. And that's the person that you're striving towards to be. And not in a sense of, oh, I need to show off my results to others, because that would actually allow for the judgment of others to come in. No, but more so in a sense of, damn, that is possible. That right there should be the only real driving force behind your motivation to learn how to trade. To be able to know I'm doing my best to become the ultimate version of myself. And that is that growth mindset that I want you to aspire to have. Don't allow others to influence your own mental state, because why would you allow them to? If you allow other people to influence your own mental state, it will not end up well. You need to literally go out there and you need to say, I am the only person that can be in control of my own mental state. And therefore, if I recognize that someone is having a toxic impact on my own mental state, I need to either remove the person from my life, so not speak to them as actively anymore, or I should not bring up certain things when I'm speaking to them. And that is something that you have to experience for your own in order to realize the true value of what I just shared with you. The next fear that we're going to discuss is the fear of sizing up. This fear arises when a trader is fearful of increasing the risk behind their positions. And let me explain. When we have a model, when we have a trading approach that we have built confidence in, why are we still worried about increasing the amount of risk behind each position? It has to do with human nature. If you are used to risking only a few $100 of risk, then the next time that you, for example, put $1,000 of risk behind the position, you're going to think, oh my God, you're going to notice that your heartbeat will start rising. You're going to notice that you're going to be overthinking, maybe even managing the position too tightly. Why? Because you were never exposed to such a risk prior. Even though you have your model, your mind can only think about the increased risk. And this is where the following comes in play. Fear of sizing up is real, and the way that you deal with it is through the following. First of all, the fear comes because you want to rush and make money. There's a reason why you're not content with just risking a few $100 or even less. You want to make more money, and therefore you want to risk more in order to make more money. That's your thought process. The fear is a result of you not having confidence in your own protocol and understanding Let time does the heavy lifting. You need to sit and wait. Allow for time to pass and allow for your protocol to present itself every single week. This fear gets conquered by slowly becoming more confident in your own approach and adding risk accordingly. Submit to time, meaning don't rush the process of risking more. Allow yourself to gain more confidence in your own protocol, more confidence in your own ability to execute it, and then over time, you slowly begin adding risk to each position. And what that would look like could be the following. You could, for example, begin with risking a few $100, and when you take 10 to 20 trades and the outcome is super positive, you could slowly increase the risk. And over time, when you get to a level of risk that you're like, okay, this to me is the maximum of risk that I am allowed to risk, because I notice that when I go above it, that I am not thinking about the charts anymore, but all I can think about is the overall exposure to the trade. When you get to that stage, you know that you have just crossed your risk limit for now, and you need to adhere to that. Don't try to over leverage, because over leveraging will cause you to do everything wrongly. You will not focus on the charts. All you can care about is the P&L, and that will cloud your own judgment. So therefore, the fear of sizing up is real, and the way you deal with it is by submitting to time and getting to know yourself more. Knowing, okay, what is for me the limit that I'm not allowed to cross when it comes to the amount of risk behind each position. And when you get to that limit, don't fight it. Don't fight your mental state. Always listen to your mind. And then over time, you will become more confident with risking that risk limit. And then, as a natural result of that, you will eventually be able to slowly begin building upon that. But don't go and take massive steps, because it will not end well. The final fear that we will discuss during this lecture is the fear of success. This fear is rather unique, but I know that for those of you that are achieving your goals or beginning to achieve them, you are experiencing this fear. And it's natural to experience this sense of fear, but at some point you need to handle it appropriately. Let me explain. This fear is built around the idea that the moment you begin achieving your goals, you begin achieving your dreams, you begin to look back and you begin to question the path that led you to achieve these goals. You begin to think to yourself, what if it is all a dream? What if I do not really deserve what I am achieving? What if this is all just an imagination? What if this could all just fade away within one night? What if I could just wake up tomorrow morning and all the success was never there and I was just sleeping all this time? All those questions, they are built around the idea that you are doubting yourself. You don't trust yourself. You don't trust your own ability to make money. And therefore, you need to change that self-image. But in order to do so, you need to begin looking back into the past. You need to be looking at the path that you had to basically walk upon to get to this stage. The path that you had to walk upon to get to this level. Look back at what you did to get to this level of success, and trust me, you will gain the confidence required in order to move on. And understand that there's nothing good or healthy that comes from self-doubt. Surely, a sense of self-doubt is always good because it allows you to improve, but at one point you need to say to yourself, okay, I am in fact able to achieve success. I am someone who is able to achieve his or her dreams. And that is me. That is who I am. That is the internal self-talk that you need to have with yourself. Because if you don't, and you begin doubting your own ability, you begin doubting your own skills, you are going to F up. Because what will happen then is that you're going to project that doubt upon the markets or upon, for example, your relationship with your loved ones. No, you need to accept that you are who you are and that you are capable of achieving whatever you put your mind to. Begin moving towards achieving new goals. If you remain stagnant, if you stand still, surely do it for a while. There's nothing wrong about that. But if you remain stagnant for too long, you will eventually fall back into old habits and you will get a self-image of laziness. You will become lazy, you will begin slipping up, You will become slacking. You won't be, let's say, backtesting as much, or you won't be logging your trades as in depth. You're like, you know what? It's all good. That right there can't occur, because if you allow that to occur, it will influence your own abilities over time. But if you stay consistent and you remain disciplined, you will be able to get to that higher level that you're looking for. I want you to put one foot in front of the other and just get it done. Don't doubt yourself anymore. At one point, you need to say to yourself, okay, I am capable of everything that I put my mind to. If I'm willing to submit to the required time, and if I'm willing to put in the required work, and that is the internal self talk that you need to have with yourself. Because if you doubt yourself, you need to stop with that. And the reason why you're doubting yourself is because you have not taken the time to look back and gain confidence in your own ability to achieve things. So stop worrying. Get to work. Remember, you allow the fear to live rent free inside of your head. Until you take control of your own thoughts and actions, you will always experience fear. Stop allowing fear to limit your potential. I hope that during this lecture, you have come to the realization that you are the person that is in control of your own mind, and it means that you are also the person that is allowing the fear to live inside of his or her mind. Therefore, at one moment in time, you need to say to yourself, I'm going to stop being fearful about this. I'm going to literally do everything that I need to do in order to become more confident in myself. And then over time, once you begin working towards achieving that confidence, the fear will naturally disappear. Surely, you're always going to have a sense of fear. Don't think that the fear will just disappear forever and it will never show up. But you will learn how to deal with it. You will learn how to deal with those thoughts the moments that they come up. If you experience fear, remember that that fear gets conquered by action, getting to work and doing the right things. And I hope that this lecture has provided you with insights of what I deem to be the right things when you're experiencing certain sense of fear. There are many more senses of fear that you could be experiencing, but during this lecture, I've just picked the ones that I thought to be the most important, and I've given my insights based upon them. Battling the fears. As a conclusion of this lecture, I want you to take away the following. You do not deal with the fear by overly focusing on the fear. Instead, you should focus on your own actions and your own thoughts. You deal with the fear by focusing on doing the right thing day in, day out. Deep inside of you, you know what is right for you at that moment in time. Begin listening to yourself. Don't fight your mind. Instead, listen to your mind, because your mind is very powerful and it signals to you what the right thing to do is at that moment in time. And if you try to fight it, you are going to engage in toxic habits, because at the end of the day, you need to understand that this is maybe a sense of your subconscious signaling to you that something isn't right to do, or that something is right to do. And I believe that if you begin listening more to your subconscious, to everything that your subconscious is signaling to you, you are going to achieve a sense of calmness and you're going to be aligned with yourself. And finally, I need you to become process oriented and begin following the protocol day in, day out, week in, week out. Just like with the second bullet point, begin with focusing on doing the right thing. The next lecture will be about self-image and how we can properly adjust our self-image so that it fits our needs. I hope that you found this lecture insightful. I look forward to catching up with you in the next one. Hello there. I hope that you are doing well. Welcome to Lecture 5 of the Mastering Yourself series. This lecture is going to be about self-image. Before we begin with today's lecture, I first want to ask you the following. How do you see yourself? When you think about you as a person, are you proud of the person that you are? Are you happy with the way that you are living your life? Or are you upset about yourself? Are you mad at yourself? Are you disgusted by your own actions? Are you sad about your own behavior? Really take some time to answer these questions. I want you to try and determine how you feel about yourself. The reason why I'm asking you to think about this question is due to the following. In order for us to perform well, we need to have a certain self image, a certain perception about ourselves, which allows us to perform well. And that is what I want to discuss during this lecture. Let us first take a look at self image. Self image is the image that you hold in mind of yourself, it's how you view yourself. Your self image plays a crucial role in how you feel and therefore how you perform. Having a positive self image is crucial for success in any endeavor, not just in trading. What I want you to understand is that if your self image is not positive and you're looking at yourself from a negative perspective, what you're doing is you're actually causing yourself to basically feel sad or you're feeling upset. And when you take that negative energy with you into the marketplace, you're going to seek to try and project that negative energy. Whilst in reality, you should just be calm and you should just be content with the way that you are behaving. And this is not me justifying bad behavior. Don't get me wrong. If you are behaving in a bad way and you are not happy with the way that you are behaving, absolutely you should be disgusted by yourself. But there's always a reason for you to look at every single experience from a positive lens. You need to understand that nothing good comes from beating yourself up. Nothing good comes from beating yourself down. You need to understand that at the end of the day, you need to be the person who is able to reflect upon your own actions, learn from them, learn from your mistakes, and then say, okay, I'm not going to do this again. I'm not defined by this experience. But some of you, you go out there and you have a bad day or a bad trading day, a bad trading session. And what you do is you write in your journal, oh, I'm such a loser. I'm so bad. This is never going to work for me. And all of this negative self-talk. And what do you think is going to come as a result of that? More negative results. Until you decide to change the frequency at which you're operating. Until you make a conscious decision to say, okay, even though this day was not how I wanted it to be, I'm going to look at it and I'm going to learn from it. That is what I want to discuss during this lecture with you. Think about the following. If you constantly say to yourself that you will never make it and that you are destined for failure, what will you achieve? Now, what if you constantly say to yourself that you will make it and are destined for success? What will you achieve then? You can clearly see the difference between these two statements. One person beats themselves up and the other person tries to think to themselves, okay, I am destined for success no matter what. I don't care how hard it may get. I don't care how many challenges I must face. I know that at one point I will achieve my goals. Of course, the person who thinks that way is going to likely achieve their goals earlier than the person that does not think that way. The person that constantly thinks that this stuff is not for them and that it just doesn't work for them and therefore they should just quit, of course they're only going to get negative results. Why? Because their mind is not opened for the possibility of them actually achieving the success. Look, I'm a big believer that you must first see something in your mind before you're able to actually achieve it. You must believe that you are capable of achieving it before you actually achieve it. And that right there is something that I had to understand through a lot of negative experiences. Because I was really asking myself when I was coming up, why am I behaving this way in this way that is not conducive for good behavior? Why am I trying to do more than what is required? Why am I going out there and taking trades that I know I shouldn't be taking? When I looked deeply into that question and I was trying to figure out the answers, what I came to realize was that I was not thinking yet that I deserved it. That was not thinking yet that I, as the trader, am deserving of the success. And when I realized that right there, I began changing that paradigm and I began saying to myself, okay, I have put in the work. I have put in the countless hours. I am blessed with the knowledge that I have and with the ability to see what I see, and therefore I need to utilize that properly. I deserve the results that I'm looking for. Once I began thinking that way, man, oh man, everything just came away. And it's almost as if that conscious decision has to be made first before the success was allowed to come. And that is what I want to share with you. Until you make the decision, you're always going to attract negative experiences. But the moment that you make the conscious decision to change and to think to yourself, okay, I know that success is going to arrive at my doorstep one day, you will actually achieve the success. First, think it before you can achieve it. Be mindful of the inner dialogue that you have with yourself. It might be what is holding you back. Earlier this morning, on the morning of this recording that I'm making this lecture for you, I was running on a treadmill and I ran 20 kilometers. If you would have told me about 6 months ago that in 6 months I would be running 20 kilometers, I would probably be looking at you and probably I would begin laughing at you. And the reason why I would begin laughing at you was because in my mind, I was someone who hated running, meaning I did not like to run. I did not like to go out there and just go on a treadmill or go outside and begin running. And now I'm preparing for a marathon, which I'm about to run. And I'm running 20K with ease. What occurred? First of all, in my mind, I changed the thought process of, okay, I don't like to run to, okay, I'm going to run because I need to run. The reason why I want to run is way deeper. It's a lot of psychological stuff that I began saying to myself, such as that this is required in order for me to get stronger mentally, but that's besides the point. What I want you to understand is that I never thought I could be a good runner. I never thought that I could be out there just running for tens of kilometers and just be good at that. I never thought that way. Until I began preparing myself, until I began training for it. And now I believe that I'm someone who is capable of running properly. What occurred? The inner dialogue that I had with myself changed. I changed the internal dialogue from, okay, well, instead of thinking that I can't, I'm going to train and I'm going to prepare myself so that I am able to do one day. And fast forward 6 months and I'm able to run properly and I'm about to run my marathon. Now, what I need you to understand is that exactly the same applies to trading. If you believe and you believe that everything that is occurring inside of your own life right now, inside of your own trading performance, and you're hesitant of taking trades or you're fearful of taking trades and you're fearful of either risking more equity or you're fearful of even executing at all, or let's say that you are not content with enough and you want to do more than what is required. All those things are occurring because of your inner dialogue with yourself. If you're fearful, then it means that you have not prepared yourself mentally well enough. If you want to do more than what is required, it is because your inner dialogue is suggesting to you that you should be doing more than what you have already done. And that right there is what you need to battle. You need to begin taking control of your mind. And that is the whole goal of this series. The whole goal of this series is to basically make you stop fucking yourself up, because that's the thing you need to realize. You are the person, only you, that is capable of achieving the success that you desire. But you are also the only person that is capable of fucking it all up. And I'm sorry for the bad language, but I really need to use my emotion to try and make my point to you. At some point, you need to be basically done with all of the bad habits that are holding you back. And once you're done and you're disgusted by all the bad habits, that's when you're able to take the habits out of each other and you're basically to look at them and you're going to look at them and you're going to tear them apart. Meaning you're going to basically throw the bad habits away and you're going to change them into good habits. And that right there can only be done when you change the inner dialogue that you have with yourself. As long as you don't change the inner dialogue, the thoughts that come in your mind, and you do not take control of your mind, you're going to continuously repeat the same mistakes. But the moment that you are able to take control of your mind and you're able to change the inner dialogue that you have with yourself every single day, every single moment of the day, and instead of it being filled with fear or instead of it being filled with negative thoughts, and it begins to turn into positive thoughts and thoughts that help you get better and help you do the right thing consistently, Until that occurs, you're going to continuously be stuck inside that cycle. But the moment that you take control back of your mind, you are going to find that it will become easier for you to do the right thing day in, day out. Do not allow negative experiences to influence your self image. Do not run away from negative experiences, learn from them. Let me explain. If you run away from a negative experience, if you would run away from, let's say, a losing trade or a bad day, or let's say a bad week or a bad month, if you would run away from that experience and pretend like it did not happen, what's going to occur is the following. That experience or sequence of experiences is going to be held on to by your subconscious. Your subconscious will constantly try to think about those negative experiences. So when a similar experience seems to present itself, what will occur is that your mind will automatically revert back to the experience that you occurred prior, which was negative, and then that will induce fear in the present. So the way that you deal with experiences that are negative is by learning from them, meaning by looking back at the experience and looking at it from the lens of, okay, there's a lesson to be learned here. Once you extract the lesson from it, and once you know what the lesson is that was apparently required for you to learn, you end the experience there. Meaning, you then say, okay, I'm not going to overthink it. I'm not going to continuously dwell on it, because if you would dwell on that experience, what will happen then is that your mind is going to constantly think about that experience, and you're going to think negatively about yourself. You're going to think that you're a failure. You're going to think that you can't do it. And what will happen then? You're actually going to cause yourself to spiral. You're going to cause yourself to do the wrong thing because you are not taking control of your own mind. You're letting life control you. And that is something that I want you to truly take away from this slide. This slide is crucial to understand. If you allow negative experiences to take control of your own mind, instead of you just saying, okay, I'm going to take the time to learn from this experience to then move on, you're going to cause yourself harm. And that is not something you should try to experience. But the thing is, in trading, I believe everyone has to experience this, because at the end of the day, you need to go through a lot of hardships in order to make it as a trader. And that is also what defines you of being a successful trader. Successful traders have gone through events that are negative. They have gone through those events and they were able to deal with them properly. There are so many people that go through negative experiences, that go through phases in which it doesn't seem to click, and they just quit, because that is the easy option. Quitting is always an option for the majority of people. But for you, it can't be, because you have already come so far that quitting is no longer part of the equation. It is not even something you can think about, because your self-image has already changed to the point that you are going to make it one day. And when you truly believe that, you will arrive there. But you cannot dwell on those negative experiences. If you do dwell on that negative experience and let it influence your self-image, you are causing yourself to go down the wrong path, as I just outlined. You will allow fear to live in your mind, and this is not allowed. If you did not watch the previous lecture yet of this series in which I touched on the topic of fears, then I would highly suggest you to do so, because in that lecture I give good tips when it comes to dealing with the most important fears to deal with. Let's take a look at the cookie jar. The cookie jar is a concept David Goggins, who is a Navy SEAL, taught. If you do not know who David Goggins is, then you're in for a treat, because you should definitely look on YouTube who this guy is, or try and read his book, because this guy has a mindset that I look up to a lot. Not in the sense of that I try to copy him when it comes to how he behaves and how he trains and all of that stuff, but more so in the way that he has taken control of his own mind. Let me explain. When you go through a lot of hardships, when you go through negative experiences, when you go through experiences that are painful, that you try to automatically run away from because they are just too painful to look at, for example, it's very important that we find a place, or create a place, I should rather say, where we store these experiences. And this is the cookie jar. Imagine the cookie jar that your grandma had when you came there as a child, and she always allowed you to, grab a cookie every single now and then. Yes? Think about that cookie jar. Instead of that cookie jar being filled with cookies, this cookie jar will be filled with experiences that you endured, that you went through. When times get tough, which they will get one day, it could be that a family member dies, it could be that something just occurs in your life which is completely fucked up, something along those lines. When it occurs, it's very important that you have your own cookie jar. The jar consists of all the experiences you went through in the past that were challenging and tough. When you have this cookie jar established and you're able to look back at all the experiences that you have in that cookie jar, and you're able to say to yourself, this is everything I had to go through to get to this point where I'm at now, you will find the courage and the strength to keep going no matter what. Why? Well, you survived through all those experiences. You made it through. And therefore, whatever might be going on in your life would never be more challenging than what you already went through in the past. It might feel that way, but it also felt that way when that experience that that you have stored inside that cookie jar was going on. So that is when you look back and learn from, okay, I went through everything back then, so I'm able to make it out again. And what I'm teaching you here is a self-image that allows you to constantly think about, okay, I have grown. I have grown as a person. I have grown as a man. I've grown as a woman. I have become stronger mentally. And that is what I want you to take away from this part. Why? Because you have been able to survive all of those negative experiences. So therefore, you will also be able to survive whatever you might be going through right now. Therefore, this cookie jar is definitely something I would suggest you to create for yourself. Take some time and try and determine for yourself what your cookie jar consists of. What are the experiences you had to go through to get to the point where you are at now? When you are going through hard times, looking back at everything you had to overcome to get to this point often provides you with calmness. You were able to go through all those experiences in the past, so why wouldn't you be able to conquer this? Changing your self-image takes time. Therefore, you need to submit to time. I say this a lot, but submitting to time is crucial. You cannot rush this process. It will not be like, okay, you wake up one day and all of a sudden you feel proud of yourself. Or all of a sudden you are happy with the way that you look. No, just like in fitness, change takes time. And if you commit to changing every single day and improving and doing the right thing, because deep down inside, you know sure as hell what doing the right thing is for you. Whether it be eating healthy, whether it be hanging around with the right people, or whether it be not consuming, let's say, that negative content that you might be consuming, or not paying attention to the news, or whatever it may be. All of you know something that you are doing each day that you know you shouldn't do. If you have that feeling that you know you shouldn't do it, why continue to do it? If you stop doing it, I promise you, you're going to be able to look back in the mirror at the end of each day and you will be able to say to yourself, okay, I'm happy I didn't do that today. Therefore, I'm going to stop doing it, meaning I'm not going to do it tomorrow and the day after. And before you know it, you have changed the habit. But again, that takes time. Changing habits is a process. It isn't something like, okay, I swallow this magic pill and all of a sudden I am this person now. No. Why not? Because it takes a shit ton of time and effort, and therefore be patient. There's a reason my 3 words that are always upon my charts are patience, courage, and wisdom. The patience to be able to submit to time and keep my head down until the shit fucking clicks. The courage to keep on going regardless of how hard life may get. And the wisdom to be able to look back at all the things that I'm doing each day, to think and determine for myself, am I doing the right thing? Those are the 3 words that I've had upon my charts for years now, and those are the 3 words I live by. Patience, courage, wisdom. Changing your self-image takes conscious action, meaning Whilst you're going through life, whilst you're going through each day, I want you to begin thinking about everything that you do. Not to promote the idea of paranoia, not to promote the idea of you just, having to worry about things. No, to actively be aware of whatever you're doing. Because if you know that you should be doing something different than what you're doing, whether it be, for example, your eating patterns, or whether it be your sleeping patterns, or whether it be your socializing patterns, or whether it be your trading patterns. If you become aware of a habit that you're doing each day that you know you shouldn't be doing, I want to ask you to investigate why your actions are not aligned with what you know you should be doing. There's a deeper reason for that. And when you investigate why that is the case, you will be able to eventually tackle it. And that is when you will be able to begin doing what is right to do. And that right there is being aligned with yourself. Sometimes it's very easy to get distracted by a lot of things in life, but it's always important to return to our own state of calmness, because that is what at the end of the day will allow you to get better. If your self-image is not clear and it's not promoting good behavior, change your self-image. And that takes time and it takes conscious action. Using positive experiences to strengthen your self-image. When you have a positive experience or a sequence of positive experiences, you need to grab hold of them and turn them into who you are and what you do. Meaning, if you had a phenomenal week, if you had a phenomenal month, I want you to literally look back at that month, at that week, at that overall performance, and say to yourself, this feels great. I'm happy I behaved this way. And this is exactly what I'm capable of doing. This is who I'm becoming. I cannot basically go below this performance again when it comes to adhering to my rules, adhering to my protocols, and doing the right thing. Building confidence comes as a natural result of you focusing on consistently doing the things that lead you to experiencing positive outcomes. When you have a positive experience or a sequence of positive experiences, it's very important that you're mindful of everything that you did in order to achieve that experience. This is what I refer to as the input. If you're able to become aware of everything that you did in order to achieve that outcome, that output, you are able to replicate that moving forward. Meaning you will be able to behave in the same manner, behave in the same way, and over time, the outcome is likely going to be exactly the same, if not better, as that initial positive experience or sequence of positive experiences. Set standards for yourself and do everything you need to do to not go below those standards. Standards in the sense of how you behave each day. Do not go from, okay, I'm following my protocol this day, so I should not follow it next day. No, you should always adhere to the protocol every single day, every single week. For you to reach your goals, you must first believe that you are the person that is able to achieve them. This is what I discussed multiple times during this lecture. You need to literally take control of your own mind and begin controlling your thoughts so that you're setting yourself up for success. If your thoughts are currently negative and you're not allowing yourself to basically achieve the power of your mind, and all you're doing is just you're going through the days, you're sleeping through the days, you're putting a bit of work in, you're backtesting halfway, but you're half-assing it. That's what you're doing, guys. You are literally holding yourself back because you have not made the conscious decision yet to increase the frequency at which you're operating, to increase the quality of your own thoughts. Trust me, when you try this out for a week or for a month and you begin literally taking control of your own life, I'm telling you, in a few months from now, you're going to be a completely different person. Why? Because you've made the decision to change. Once you make the decision to change, your life will change. But until you make that conscious decision to change, nothing will occur. Remember, nothing changes if nothing changes. Believe that you become the person that is able of achieving things and watch yourself achieve those things. In order for you to become that person, you must submit to time and put in the required work and effort. Day in, day out, week in, week out. And over time, you are going to achieve the success that you desire. With that, this lecture comes to an end. I hope that it has provided you with great insight when it comes to changing your self-image, and I look forward to catching up with you in the 6th lecture soon. Hello everyone, I hope that you're doing well. Welcome to the 6th lecture of the Mastering Yourself series. During this lecture, we are going to discuss the topic of handling drawdown. Handling drawdown is, in my opinion, something that you need to understand. If you do not understand how to handle drawdown properly and you simply go into the charts only with the mindset of, okay, I'm looking for this and this and this, and I just going to press buttons based of that, you're going to hurt yourself over time. This is something every single trader experiences, and the reason why is because everyone thinks that the edge that they're looking for lies within their technical edge. But let me tell you something. The edge that you're looking for is within your own mind. And during this lecture, I will discuss that with you. First of all, we need to answer the question, how does drawdown get caused in the first place? Drawdown is either a result of you following your protocol or you not following your protocol. That makes sense, right? You either do the right thing and you take a loss based off you doing the right thing, or you do the wrong thing and you take an unrequired loss. Those are the two variations of drawdown. Now, this is very simplistic, but the reason why I mention this is because you need to begin to look at drawdown through the following perspective. You either take a loss which is completely according to your rules, or you take a loss which is not according to your rules. Those are the losses you need to be very mindful of. There's no in between, meaning you either do the right thing or you do the wrong thing. Don't think, oh, I kind of did the right thing, but on the other hand, I also did the wrong thing. No, when there's any doubt about whether or not you're doing the right thing, you're doing the wrong thing. You need to absolutely know what you're looking for, when you're looking for it, and how you're going to execute based off that. What drawdown looks like when you follow the protocol. When you follow your protocol, drawdown looks like the following. You take one loss or you take two losses and you're done for the session or day. You don't try to go out there and do more. No, you're simply content with this. The reason why you're content with this is because by not taking more trades and putting on more risk, you're limiting yourself to only that one loss or those two losses for the session or day. You do not rush back into the markets to try and regain lost equity. If you have the character trait of wanting to regain lost equity, what you will find out over time is that by you wanting to regain that lost equity so quickly because you're impatient, you're actually going to cause yourself more harm than what you did in the first place. If you did not watch these lectures yet of the model series, the risk management lecture and the money management lecture, I would highly advise you to stop watching this lecture right now and move on to them, because these lectures explain to you how I advise you to manage your money accordingly. I'm not giving you any financial advice, but I'm sharing with you how I would suggest you to begin looking at risk management and how you should begin to think about handling drawdown. Everyone goes through drawdown, but how we deal with drawdown is what matters. What could happen when you don't follow the protocol and you get into drawdown? You take a loss which was not according to your protocol and you then make the right decision to stop. This is the perfect thing that you need to do. The moment you recognize that you just took a trade that was not according to your rules, you need to say, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to try and do more. I'm not going to try and risk more. No, I'm going to stop, because there's a reason why I put on that trade in the first place that was not according to my rules. The majority of the times, you will realize that there was something in your personal life, something in your own mind, which caused you to want to project that onto the marketplace, and be mindful of that. Don't try to fight it, because if you try to fight that, you are going to do the wrong thing. And that is what we will discuss now. You take one loss which was not according to your protocol, and that turns into a series of losses because you want to regain the lost equity so badly. You're not thinking about following your protocol anymore. You're not thinking about doing the right thing anymore. You're not even thinking about the trades that you're putting on. All you could think about is regaining that lost equity. You're so focused on the P&L of your challenge or of your funded account or even of your personal account that you cannot see what the market is telling you what it's like going to do. That right there is a result of you projecting all of that emotional baggage onto the charts. You do not think about following your protocol anymore, and you begin to justify taking bad trades. This right here is one of the most toxic character traits that you need to deal with. I believe everyone goes through this at some stage in their journey, where something in their personal life might be the root cause for this, or something in their own mind. It might be a mental health issue that is causing this. Everyone goes through a phase where it literally is hard for them to stick to their own rules, to stick to their own protocols. But when you are going through this phase, you need to understand that there's a reason why you are going through that. This is exactly why, before discussing how to handle drawdown, I first touched on, okay, how could your personal life be of influence onto your, for example, trading performance? Or how could your emotional state be of influence to your trading performance? When you are not aware of those things that are influencing your actions behind the charts, it doesn't matter how good you think of, okay, this is my protocol, these are my rules, this is what I'm going to look for, all of that stuff. It doesn't matter because you haven't mastered yourself. You don't understand yourself yet. And therefore, I want you to literally begin looking in the mirror and looking at yourself. And based off that, begin to make changes that will allow you to begin following the protocols. When you look back at all trades taken, you will question why you took those trades. This is referred to as going on tilt. This basically means that you lost the plot. You literally lost your sense of self-control. This right here is the most dangerous thing that can occur when you're behind the charts. And when you experience this, when you go through this, because I'm telling you, if you have never experienced this, you will experience it one day and you're going to be grateful for what I'm about to share with you. When you go through this and you experience it, you don't try and go out there the next day or the next session and say to yourself, I need to regain what was just lost whilst I went on tilt. Take a break. If you go into the charts after you went on tilt with the desire of wanting to regain that lost equity, you are going to cause yourself a lot of mental harm, because what you will do is you will take all of that negative baggage with you into the charts the next session or the next day. Everyone goes through this. So when you experience this, don't be mad about it. Don't be upset with yourself. Don't be like, oh, my failure, blah, blah, blah. No, you're not. This is all part of the process. You need to understand that the reason why you go on tilt is because you haven't mastered yourself yet. If you experience a sense of, okay, I lose the plot, I lose self-control, you don't say to yourself, this is the end, my career is over, or all of this stuff. No, you look at it as, okay, I made some bad decisions, I did the wrong thing for that day, and there it ends. You learn from the experiences and you begin to look back at what occurred in advance of you going on tilt. Because you going on tilt is one thing, but what caused you to go on tilt? What was there present in your mind? Which thought processes were present in your mind, or what occurred in your personal life that made you go on tilt? And how did you react to those things? This right here is what I want you to focus on, guys. And this is something that no one touches on, no trader discusses, because it's hard discussing these emotional things. But that's exactly why I decided to share this series with you. And I hope that you are taking notes and that you're learning a lot from it. Avoiding going on tilt. First of all, I would suggest you to be more aware of your own actions behind the charts by focusing more on the process which leads to you put on a trade. Let me explain. Every single trade that you take has to be based on sound logic. Sound logic being in accordance with your own protocol, meaning your own technical protocol. But that technical protocol is not enough. You need to have a protocol that literally says how you should act. This is operator management. This is something I've discussed prior during the model series already, and it's something I'm already discussing during this psychology series as well, but I'm just going to give you a brief explanation. Let's say you come to the charts and you notice that there's something on your mind that's just bothering you. There's something which has really made you upset, for example. You go into the charts and you see the Nasdaq provide an opportunity. You take the trade. You see a fair value gap form. You enter based off that fair value gap and you think to yourself, okay, That's the setup. Boom. Here we go. And what occurs? Market takes you out. And you're like, huh? Why did I get taken out? I saw a fair value gap and therefore that should function as support on price if bullish. Right? What you did not understand was that you rushed into the position. You did not adhere to your own protocol of do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. No, you simply saw the fair value gap, the entry pattern, and you pushed the button. That right there is not following the process. It's simply you chasing an emotional stimuli inside of these charts, inside of these markets, and that is not allowed. If you recognize that you're doing this, and if you recognize that you're chasing price, stop. Don't do more. Stop. Be mindful of why you're behaving that way, because there's a deeper reason for it. Once the setup has played out, that was, however, according to your rules in which you followed the full protocol, you begin reflecting. You don't try to do something new again. You don't try to get into a new relationship, into a new trade setup, if you may wish. No, you simply say, I just took a trade. The outcome has been provided, whether it be positive or negative, whether it be a win, a break even, or a loss. I'm going to look what made me take the trade, what I saw within the market, how I engaged based off that, and how the trade eventually played out. You're not going to go out there and think, I need to do more. I need to do something new again. Okay, that didn't play out. What's the next thing to do? No, because if you would allow for that to occur, you are going to find yourself take more trades than what is required, and the quality of your trades will decrease. If you do not take the time to reflect on what you just did within the markets, it's very easy to lose focus and allow your monkey brain to take control over your own actions. When this occurs, you need to stop. The moment you recognize that you're losing control, that you as the analyst are no longer in the driver's seat, you stop. You don't try to go out there and swing for the fences. Because the reason why so many people in this business fail is because they are not able to limit themselves. That is the type of mindset that you need to develop, in which you're able to limit yourself. If you're unable to limit yourself, and if you're unable to say no to yourself, you will cause yourself harm by going on tilt. And that is a result of these markets playing in on your emotions as a human. This is natural, but therefore we need to put systems in place which allow us to thrive and become better. You need to guard your mind, guys. You literally need to take control back of your own mind. So many people nowadays, they just go about their days every single day and they just kind of sleepwalk through life. They have their eyes closed and they just, they live and they think, oh, life is going to come upon me. When you allow for that mindset to come with you into the charts, what will happen is that you will just see so many entry patterns that you're just going to push buttons based off those entry patterns, and you're not going to adhere to the protocols that you have. And then you're going to be questioning, does this stuff work? Does this stuff repeat? Whilst in reality, the thing that's holding you back is you. When you come to that mindset that you are the reason for your own failures and you're able to take responsibility for that, that is where the growth takes place. But it doesn't occur until you begin guarding your mind and until you begin saying no to everything or everyone around you that has a negative impact on your own mindset. Losing control behind the charts can result in physical symptoms such as stress manifesting itself in your body. The symptoms of this could be, for example, that you notice that your palms begin to sweat, or you begin sweat to arise on your face or anywhere else on your body, or you begin to notice that your heartbeat begins to increase, or you begin to notice that you get some pain in your neck or in your lower back or in your legs. When you recognize these symptoms of physical stress, which are a result of you losing control in your mind, you need to stop. I don't care what you're doing, but you need to stop. Close any position that's open and log out of the accounts. Doesn't matter if it's a challenge account or a live account, doesn't matter. What you need to do is you need to remove risk from the equation and you need to close shop. Why? If you do not listen to the symptoms that are present in your body of you losing the plot, you will harm yourself. and you will look back at everything that you did on that session or during that session or day, and you're going to literally ask to yourself, why the F did I not listen to my body when it signaled to me that I was losing the plot in my own mind? This is something which you will have to experience first before you understand the true value in what I just shared. But for those of you that have already been trading for a while and you have experienced this, you will listen to this and you're going to be like, man, oh man, how is it possible that he understands this? How is it possible that he knows this? Because I went through that same shit. And it's normal because everyone goes through that shit. But it's about how you deal with those events and how you do not dwell on them. If you do not process the event of you losing control properly, it will haunt you moving forward. And you will notice actively that your mind is constantly going to dwell on that experience and you're going to lose your confidence in your own ability to execute whatever protocol you may adhere to. And this is something which we cannot allow to occur. Maybe the lack of confidence is truly a result of you not having any protocols when it comes to your own mental state. And if that is the case, I would highly advise you to just take a step back. Don't rush into new positions. Don't rush into new trades. Take a step back and take the time to put systems in place for you to thrive within your own mind. Examples of systems to handle drawdown. When you take one loss for the session or day, it means that you are done for that session or day. The reason why I put session or day is because this is basically a variable that is depending on your own experience. If you have been trading for a long time, then you could say, okay, if I take one loss during the morning session, I can look to trade again during the afternoon session to maybe regain that lost equity from the morning session, but I know I need to decrease my risk. If you are, however, completely new to trading and you have never been at a stage of consistently being profitable, what you need to do is you need to limit the amount of opportunity for you to harm yourself. Let me tell you something. If you say to yourself that you're only allowed one bullet for that day, meaning one shot, you will force yourself to develop a sense of patience and develop a sense of the desire to wait for the conditions to be aligned, for everything to be aligned properly before you're looking to trade. And that right there is going to build the character which you need to come to a stage where you're like, damn, I know exactly what I'm doing and when I'm doing it. When you get to that stage, you have arrived. And that is when you can let go of that limit of just one loss per day, whether it be during the morning or afternoon session. And that is when you can look to say, okay, if I take one loss during the morning session, I can look to also trade the afternoon session with less risk to try and regain the lost equity of the morning session. But if you're completely new, the worst thing you can do is try and push it. So you need to limit yourself. And you limit yourself by only allowing yourself one bullet. When you take a trade, you reflect right away on that trade. This is the second system which we're going to put in play. If you try to rush into a new trade after the outcome of the first trade has presented itself, you are going to take unrequired risk. This right here is what I discussed prior already, but this is something that you really need to begin understanding. How many times did you take a bad trade and you thought, now it should begin to deliver, and what occurs? You just push it again, and what occurs? You take even a bigger loss than that first loss which you have. And if you then push it again, you take even a bigger loss. So you make a very minor loss and you turn it into a bigger loss simply because you did not take the time to reflect on what you did in the first place. If you cross your drawdown limit for the session or day, you are done for the session or day. This means that for you, you need to define for yourself what your drawdown limit is. This could be, for example, let's say an X% of your account or an X% of the challenge that you're working with. When this percent of loss gets crossed and you lose this equity, you do not think to yourself, I need to do more. No, you think to yourself, I need to stop right now and I'm going to reflect. I'm going to be content with this and I'm going to come back the day afterwards or maybe even 2 days afterwards, doesn't matter. You know that a new setup will present itself and you know exactly what the chances are of that setup playing out. Set realistic expectations for yourself. Allow yourself to end a day in drawdown. This falls in line with the tips that I provided of the systems which I suggest you to put in place. The reason why is because if you think that you're not allowed to end a day in drawdown due to your own ego telling you that you should always end the day in the green, you are going to cause yourself more harm. Because what you will do is you will take unrequired risk in the hopes, yes, in the hopes, listen to me closely, you hope something, yes, you hope that you will be able to regain that lost equity by taking a trade. You do not listen to what IPTA is signaling. You do not listen to what the algorithm is telling you for that session or day. That right there is something you need to come to terms with. You have absolutely no control over what is likely going to happen next. All you have control over is whether or not you're aligned with the markets and whether or not you're doing the right thing consistently. Therefore, allow yourself to end the day in drawdown when you know that you are done. Just because you know a new setup will present itself during, for example, the next macro window, it does not mean you should be out there swinging for the fences and that you should be out there just pushing it. This right here is something I want you to write down if you are struggling with limiting yourself. If you are struggling with limiting yourself and being content with walking away and being content with enough, you need to understand that you only need one trade a session or one trade a day on the days that you decide to trade in the first place, because not every single day is a day to trade, as I outlined multiple times in the past. You need to guard your mind and you need to guard your mental capital. This right here is something I want you to begin putting more emphasis on. I want you to literally put this at the top of your protocol. If your mind is not clear and if you're not in the right mental state, how the F can you think that you're likely going to perform well in the markets? You can't. So therefore, stop thinking that when your mind is not well, that you'll be able to perform well. The conclusion is the following of this lecture. If you do not take control of yourself when you're behind the charts, you can cause yourself a drawdown which will take a long time to fix. Systems need to be put in place in which you keep yourself grounded and balanced. Set realistic expectations for yourself. Everything that I discussed during this lecture is based upon personal experience. I went through this stuff. I literally went through all of the pain that you're probably going through right now. Therefore, I want you to understand that there's a light on the other side of that darkness in which you're just able to do what is right. Until you begin to change your own actions and your own thought patterns, you are going to consistently repeat the same mistakes. If you consistently repeat the same things and expect a different outcome, that is foolishness. And that is something we cannot allow. You need to literally take control back of your own mind and you need to literally say, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to fix this thought process in my mind, because at the end of the day, this battle is won in your own mind. That is what I want to end today's lecture with. I hope that you found insightful, and during the next lectures, I want to touch more on your own mind and its influence on the markets. Be safe. I hope that you are doing well. Welcome to this new lecture of the Psychology series. During this lecture, I'm going to share with you a very raw recording of me giving you psychological advice. Throughout the recent weekly and day reviews, I've been sharing a lot of raw lectures and you guys have been enjoying them a lot. And therefore, I've decided to also create a raw lecture for the Psychology series. I hope that by listening to this lecture, You're going to gain the insights required to make the changes in the behavioral patterns that are holding you back. If you are soft-headed and you are someone who gets tapped on their toes rather quickly, I would highly advise you to not watch this lecture, because I'm going to use my emotion to try and make you to understand the changes that you made. That is why I'm calling this lecture the wake-up call. So many of you are consistently doing the wrong things week in, week out. That's absolutely time for you to make adjustments in your behavior, because you need to understand that the reason why you're not where you want to be yet, why you're not consistently profitable yet, why you're not achieving the goals that you set out to achieve, is because you are holding yourself back. There's something inside of you, or there are things inside of you that you have not mastered yet. You have not taken care of those things inside of your head, and they are resulting in you behaving badly behind the charts. Therefore, I want you to pay close attention to the things that I will discuss during this lecture. First of all, what I need you to understand, guys, is that it's you versus you. And this is by far one of the most crucial things that you need to understand nowadays. Nowadays, it's very easy for people to go on social media, to go online and to share their results with others. When you see people get praised for that, when you see people get attention for that, you might think to yourself, oh, I also want that. I also want to go out there and basically build a name for myself and show off. Trust me, guys, all of that stuff, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that it's you versus you. You are the person that is responsible for all your outcomes. You are the person that's responsible for all your actions. You are the person that's responsible for all your results. You're not in competition. You're not in a competition with anyone out there. You're not in competition with anyone on social media. You're not in competition with me. You're not in competition with any other mentorship student of mine. No. You must be better than the person that you were yesterday, and the person that you were last week, and the person that you were last month. That is the person you're competing with. You're competing with your weaker inner self. You're competing with everything inside of you that's holding you back. That is the daily competition, the daily battle that you must win. And I truly believe that if you start paying attention to that daily battle, that inner voice that's telling you to do this or do that, and then the outcome is not what you want it to be, when you start battling that inner voice and you begin combating it with the right voice, with the right thing to do, trust me, you're going to be surprised by how quick change will come. And you're going to think to yourself, how the F is it possible that change has come so quickly whilst I was just focused on doing the right thing? And that is the result of compound interest, because so many of you already have the right technical knowledge. You already have the knowledge of an advanced IPTA perspective, but you're still holding yourself back. Why are you holding yourself back? Because you're putting unrealistic expectations upon yourself. You think that you need to go out there and show off to the world. You think that you go out there and you must compete with this guy or this girl or whatever it may be. You want to get some type of praise by other people. And because you want that praise, you start doing things that you know you shouldn't really do, but you think it should work that way. And then when it doesn't pan out that way, you're going to be upset and you're going to think to yourself, fuck, I lost this money. I need to regain it right away. And what occurs then? You begin to spiral and your executions begin to basically become worse and worse and worse. And you think to yourself, does this stuff really work? You begin doubting yourself, and all of a sudden, before you know it, your challenge or your funded account is blown, or even your personal account is blown. Guys, this is completely normal. Everyone goes through that at some point in their journey. But you need to realize that at one point, when you go through an experience like this, or a series of experiences like this, you know that that can't lead to longevity in this business. I'm sorry, with this raw lecture, I'm going to probably make some vocal errors here and there, but that is what it is. These are the type of lectures that you guys want to, so I hope that it doesn't really affect the quality of this lecture. But back to the topic. You need to understand that when you go through those phases in which you just make so many stupid mistakes in a row, in which you're just spiraling and you blow your accounts or whatever it may be, when you go through a phase like this, it's very important that you don't dwell on that. You cannot stay in that negative energy. You cannot stay in that basically mental state of, oh, I'm a failure. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, or you begin doubting yourself, because as long as you stay inside of that mental state, as long as you stay basically allowing those inner demons to be in the driver's seat of your behavior, you're going to consistently make the same mistakes. And that is what I mean when I say there's an inner battle that you need to fight on a day-by-day basis. You need to take control of your own mind. You need to be the person that says, no, I'm not giving these thoughts any more attention, because I know that if I would give them attention, what will happen is that I will project all of those inner doubts, all of those inner demons up on the charts, and that cannot be allowed. It's you versus you, and that is what you need to understand. Every single day, every single week, and every single month, and that is why I keep on saying it's about doing the right thing. Deep inside of you, you know what doing the right thing means for that moment in time. Stop fighting that and just listen. Your mind is more powerful than you think. And if you would just try and listen to it instead of fighting it, trust me, you're going to change in a rapid pace. Now, what you need to understand is that you are responsible for your behavior behind the charts. For example, if you're fearful of executing trades, if you're scared of holding onto trades, if you chase price, or if you overtrade, all these issues that you are experiencing are a result of you not having taken control of your own mind. You are responsible for that. You are the person that has to take control of your own mind. I can't do it for you. I can't say, look, Mike, trust me, you need to stop behaving this way because else it's not going to end well. This is how you do that. No, you need to do that. I can give you my advice. I can tell you, look, this is how you should behave because this is how you're likely going to battle with it. But at the end of the day, you are the person that has to make the adjustments. You are the person that has to go out there and literally say, no, I am not going to behave in this bad manner anymore. Until you make that change, until you make that conscious decision to basically change your behavior, you are going to consistently make the same mistakes and you're going to be fearful of executing because you're thinking that the trade that you're about to take is more important than it really is. You think that it's a matter of life or death, that there isn't going to be another opportunity in the markets, and you're going to think to yourself, I just need to push this button and I need to hold on to it. Deep inside of you, you know that it's not really according to your protocol, and that is because, look guys, when you're fearful of executing, it's actually a result of you not having full confidence in your own model. And that lack of confidence is a result of one or two things. Either you don't have a protocol yet, meaning you don't have a rule-based system yet. If this is the case, you shouldn't even be paying attention to psychology yet, in my opinion. Sure, you can watch this series, you can take some notes here and there, you can gain some insights. But until you have defined your own protocol, until you know exactly what you're looking for and when you're looking for it, don't be overthinking about psychology. Focus on the technicals. However, once you understand the technicals and you have your own protocol, if you're still fearful of executing, there's a deeper reason for that. And that reason usually has to do with you thinking that the trade that you're about to take is more significant than it really is. And that's, of course, it's a rather stupid thing to think. Because if you think about it logically, you know that every single day there's a new opportunity. You know that every single day the market is going to go up and down, up and down, up and down. From 9:30 a.m. you know that there will be opportunities present. Surely early as well, but you get the idea. Why the F would you think that today would be your final trading day? Why would you think that today is the day on which you need to perform? This is your final chance to make money. Do you see right there how basically irrational that thought process is? Because the reason why you're fearful of executing is because you put too much emotional weight behind that trade out of FOMO, out of fear of missing out, because you think this is going to be the final trading day, and therefore you over leverage, so you're going to risk more than you know you should really risk. You're going to take a trade that you know you shouldn't take, and in advance of you taking that trade, your mind and your body are literally screaming, no. Your heartbeat starts rising, you begin to sweat, you begin to overthink, you begin to think, should I really do this? Should I really push the button? When you feel those things, yes, stop. just stop. Don't you dare to push that button. Don't push that button on a live account or a challenge account or whatever it may be. Either demonstrate it and log the outcome, or just read the tape. Because if you would put any risk behind that position, behind a position that you know you shouldn't be in, and it goes against you, what is going to happen? You're going to beat yourself up, first of all, for having been in the trade in the first place, because you knew it wasn't according to your protocol. You knew something fell off and you still pushed it. But secondly, the impact that that emotional experience is going to have on you is going to be rather large, because you're going to think to yourself, well, you know what? The next time that I see an opportunity present itself, I'm going to refer back to this experience. And what will happen is that you will lose confidence in your own ability to execute, whilst in reality, you shouldn't have been in that trade in the first place. So that is how you deal with being fearful of executing. You need to make behavioral changes inside of your own mind. And until you make those changes in your own mind, you're going to consistently walk into these mistakes. And that is so, it's just a waste of time, honestly. And it's a waste of experience and energy. At some point, you need to say, enough is enough. And that is what I want you guys to understand. The second part that I've written down is that if you are scared of holding on to trades, there's also a deeper reason for that. And that is something that usually is very personal. And the reason why I mention that is because a lot of you guys, you are so in a rush to make money because you either trade full time, you quit your job too soon, and deep down inside of you, you know you quit your job too soon, and you just want it so badly. Trust me. When you understand that you want it so badly and you're obsessed about this craft, you need to do the following. You need to say to yourself, that obsession that I have with the charts, that desire to do something behind the charts, that desire to research, etc. Look, it has gotten you to this point. It has gotten you to this point where you're at this advanced level of understanding, where you have your protocol, where you have your knowledge of what you're looking for, when you look for it, etc. When you get to that level, however, something interesting occurs. And that's the following. You basically begin to change your behavior. Whilst in the learning phase, you were very much focused on, getting a lot of reps in, getting a lot of chart time in, getting a lot of, investigation in, and all of this stuff. The moment you come to that level of understanding where you know what you're looking for and when you're looking for it, you actually are going to decrease the chart time, and you're going to be spending less time behind the charts because you know exactly when the setup will occur. If you know when the setup will occur, why the fuck would you be looking at the charts 2 hours in advance of you knowing when the setup will occur? You get me? Like, come on, guys. And I'm going on a rabbit trail here, but the reason why I'm mentioning this with the second part is because the reason why you're so scared of holding on to trades is because you're putting, again, too much emotional weight behind the outcome of the trade. And it's a result of you wanting to make money rather quickly. So every single tiny fluctuation against your position is going to feel like, oh my God, I'm getting stepped. Oh, no, it better not run against me. Oh, no, it better not. Oh, that before you know it, it's against your position and the market reaches your trail stop or your full stop. And you are going to think to yourself, why the F did I not listen? And you're going to beat yourself up. But look, guys, when you recognize that that internal battle is going on, where you're fearful and your thoughts are messy and you know that your judgment is clouded, when you recognize that, guys, why the F would you stay in that position with the same amount of leverage? If you are in a position, and let's say, just a simple example, you would be 2 contracts short on NQ, and you recognize that something is telling to you that it might turn around against you, or you see warning signs, as I always like to call them, and you notice that your mental state is also not the best right now, why the F would you not take 1 contract off, trail the remainder to a break even, and then let the market do what's going to do? The psychological effect of allowing the market to draw all the way towards your stop loss when you know that you're not in the right mental state and you know that you're recognizing warning signs of the market maybe turning around and turning against you, and you're already in good profits, If you allow the market to then turn around all the way back to your entry and maybe even to your stop without having taken a partial, that's foolishness. And what will happen then is that the next time that you get into a trade, you're going to refer back to that same experience in which you knew you should have taken a partial, but you didn't. And you're going to constantly think, okay, should I take a partial now? Should I take a partial now? Should I take a partial now? Or whatever. And that right there is something that has to be countered. Now, the next topic that I want to touch on is if you chase price, it is again a result of you wanting it too badly. You think to yourself that today is going to be the final trading day. You think to yourself that this move that you see occurring or likely taking place is the move. It's the move that will change your whole bloodline. It's the move that will change your whole life trajectory. Sometimes, I wish I was a native English speaker and I wish I wasn't some Dutch guy that, learned English in middle school and then, went about speaking to English people and learning English that way and all of this stuff. But, it is what it is, and I hope that the message still becomes clear. I'm going to try and pronounce it as best as possible. Look, guys, this is one of the reasons why I don't like to do live streams, because I know that when I do a live stream and I make a F-up like this, I can't cut it and I can't remove it, right? I can't just, edit it out and pretend like I didn't make that vocal mistake. Because I'm trying to make this as raw as possible, I need to leave it in, and that is just what it is. But if you chase price, it's a result of you thinking that the upcoming move that you see of likely occurring is likely going to be the final move that you will ever be able to participate in. Or you think to yourself that this move is going to be the move that will change your whole life trajectory. And you think to yourself that you must be in, because if you don't, it's going to be the end of all and you won't be able to trade ever again. That's the internal dialogue that you have. And do you understand how irrational that is? Do you understand that if you are falling into the trap of chasing price and you are buying in deep premiums or you're selling in deep discounts and the market has already run like directly towards your target, but you still try to get into that move, it's a result of you chasing price, and it's a result of you not having the right mindset. Now, the final topic is a very interesting one, because I believe it's connected to all of the reasons that are already outlined, and that is overtrading. If you overtrade, there's a very deep inner reason for that, and it usually stems from the fact that, first of all, you are not content with losing, meaning you want to end the session or day always in the green. Or you think to yourself that because today is the final trading day, and you know already that it is an irrational thought to have, but because you think that today is the final trading day, you think to yourself, I cannot end this final trading day with a loss. I cannot think to myself the remainder of my life, oh my god, that final trading day, I was a loser that day. I'm telling you that the male students under me probably are struggling with this more than the female students. And the reason why is because this is deep human nature, and I love researching this type of stuff. But what I've come to notice is that the majority of males, when they get hit in a way, when they get a negative experience, meaning whether it is, for example, them getting hurt in a way and them losing money. Losing money, by the way, it's not a bad thing. Until you detach yourself from the monetary aspect, until you detach yourself from the desire to make money and the basically daily outcomes of your behavior behind the charts, you will always feel what I'm about to describe, and that's the following. If you think to yourself that losing money is a bad thing, it's a negative experience, what you will do as a male is the following. You will think to yourself, fuck man, they stole it from me, they got me, and you're going to go into this automatic basically response of, I need to fight this, I need to put up my, let's say, my armor, and I just need to go into battle, and you just need to go. And what occurs? You don't care about following your protocol anymore, you don't care about adhering to your risk management protocol anymore. All you care about is regaining that lost equity. And you push it and you push it and you push it. And before you know it, you hit your daily drawdown limit or you blow your account. Everyone has done that one day. Every single trader. And the reason why is because this is a part of us as humans who are emotional beings that we need to conquer. We need to put systems in place that basically protect not only our bottom line when it comes to our trading accounts, but also our own mental health. And the way we put those systems in place is by becoming aware of everything that is holding us back as emotional beings, and by basically putting boundaries around those limitations that we have as humans. If you understand that you are likely going to fight when something doesn't go your way, you need to understand that in business or whatever you might be doing as a job or in physical training or whatever, that right there is a good thing. But when you're behind the charts, you cannot allow that behavior to come in. You need to literally say to yourself the moment that you feel this rush to regain lost equity, you need to consciously say to yourself, nah, not today. Nah, not today. Don't you dare. Because you have already been through that in the past and you know how freaking stupid it is. And trust me when I say this. The fact that you went through it one day or 2 days or 3 days, whatever, the fact that you went through it at least once, it doesn't mean that you have to consistently experience that. You are self-sabotaging, meaning you are hurting yourself. And at the end of this lecture, I will share with you the best tip that I can share with you to stop self-sabotaging, because it's a big thing. And the female listeners are probably thinking, well, the males, they go into a fight mode. They think, look, we need to go to battle. What does a female do? What a female does is actually the opposite. When they have this negative experience, instead of going out there and wanting to regain that lost equity right away, what usually occurs is that they get into this state of fear, that they get into this state of maybe even numbness, and they are more emotional in the moment. And therefore, they know, okay, I need to take time off the chart now, and I really need to basically process these emotions accordingly, because they understand that if they don't, they're going to project all of those inner demons upon the charts. And that is why I said you are responsible for your behavior behind the charts. You need to put the systems in place that will limit you when it comes to your fuck ups behind the charts. And until you fuck up behind the chart, you don't know where your fuck ups are. So be grateful in a way for all of the things that you go through. And trust me, I have a whole library of things I went through, and that's why I'm able to share with you what I'm sharing with you, because this is how I fixed myself. This is how I literally came to the level that I'm at now. And that is a result of so much freaking pain at a very young age that I really had to basically go through. And I often tell this to people. I say, like, life is gonna hit you no matter what. You're going to get hit so many freaking times. But what you need to do is you need to put your army helmet on, and you just need to put your head down, and you just need to go through the phases, and you need to take the lessons from them. Because the fact that you go through these experiences is showcasing that you have what it takes, especially when you don't quit. So many people would quit the moment that things don't go their way, but you choose not to. You choose to stick at it. And that right there shows that you have what it takes. You deserve the failures until you are willing to make the changes required. Let me repeat that. You deserve the failures until you are willing to make the changes required. Guys, do you understand how deep this sentence is? I'm going to say it one more time. You deserve the failures until you're willing to make the changes required. Some of you are like, why does he keep on saying the same sentence? Because I need you to freaking understand the power of this sentence. If you really think about this sentence and you put it somewhere in your journal and you really try to think about it throughout the day, and you think to yourself, okay, today it's a new day. The previous day or the previous week, I made these mistakes because so and so. My behavior in that moment was not ideal. If you behave the same way, what's likely going to be the outcome? You are likely going to be making the same mistakes as you did in that previous moment in time. Therefore, until you make the changes required in your own behavior, you are going to consistently make the same mistakes, and you absolutely deserve all the failures that are coming upon you then. That right there is something I want you to reflect upon. If there's one thing that I want you to take away from this lecture, it's the following. You need to become aware of what's holding you back. You need to be aware of whatever you're doing consistently that is having a negative impact on your own results. And I don't care how good you are. I don't care how well you're doing right now. I don't care how much money you're making each month. You are doing something that is holding you back. And you know it, because else you wouldn't be listening to this lecture. Else you would be watching all the way to this part of the lecture. You would have already thought, nah, this is all doesn't apply to me, and therefore I should just click away. No. You know that deep down inside of you, there are things that are holding you back when it comes to your development. And it's of course rather interesting to hear me say that, right? Because you might think to yourself, well, of course, if you're not at that stage of being consistently profitable yet, of course you are holding yourself back. And of course there are things that you need to change. But even when you're at the stage of being consistently profitable and you're making money every single week, every single month from the charts, there's still something inside of you that you know you can improve upon. Maybe it's being less fearful behind the charts, or maybe it's being actually more content with enough, or maybe it's being not wanting to go out there and trade for the wrong reasons. That is why I'm sharing these things with you. You need to be so freaking aware of everything that's in your mind that's causing you to behave in a certain way, and that's a result of journaling. That's a result of you literally trying to log as best as possible why you did what you did. The solution to all your issues, and I know you're going to be like, the solution to all my issues? Yes. The solution to all your issues when it comes to your behavior behind the charts is sticking to strict protocols. Sticking to strict protocols in the sense of not only technical protocols, meaning when your model presents itself, when it doesn't present itself, etc. You also need to have protocols in play for what is going to be done when something in your life doesn't go the way you want it to go. When something in your life hits you. When something occurs that has an impact on your personal life. It might be you losing your job. It might be your loved ones getting hurt. It might be a family member passing away or a good friend. When something of such significance occurs, you need to have a protocol in place that allows you to deal with it properly, and it allows you to still show up behind the charts, but maybe not with as much risk as you usually do. Whilst your emotional state is not ideal, what is likely going to happen? You're likely going to take a poor trade and you're going to be upset about the fact that you basically, went behind the charts when you knew you weren't in the right mental state. Therefore, it's about beginning to listen. Listen to your own mind. Listen to your feelings. And I know that you're probably like, oh my God, listening to my feelings, that's something I've never done before. The males are probably laughing because especially when you're a masculine man and you want to train hard and you do all of this physical stuff, you might be a professional, let's say, athlete. You think, nah, I don't need to listen. I can just, force my will. I can just push through all of those inner demons and whatever it may be. Try it and you'll see how that goes. Guys, your mind is your biggest friend. It can also be your biggest enemy, but you need to understand that when you listen to your mind, you'll be able to do the right things. Begin sticking to strict protocols that limit you. That limit you as the operator of your protocol. Your protocol might be ideal, but if you're unable to manage you as the operator of that protocol, you're going to hold yourself back. Now, a question that I want to ask you is the following. How big would you dream if you knew you couldn't fail sticking to your protocols? Think about that question for a moment, maybe even pause the lecture, and then continue listening to it. Many of you think that, when you get to this stage of you being able to see these setups before they occur, you can time them hours in advance of them occurring, or even a day in advance or days in advance. You think to yourself that when you come to that stage, that's it. That's your life done, and you're going to do this the remainder of your life. That's correct. You're going to be absolutely trading for the remainder of your life, not financial advice. However, is that all there is? Are you just going to sit behind your screen every single day and that's your life? Are you going to be spending hours upon hours upon hours every single day behind the charts? Is there more to life? Look, you need to have a vision. You need to have a vision of what your ideal life looks like. You need to have a dream, an idea of, okay, this is how I want my life to look like in 5 to 10 years. I'm going to work towards that. If your perception about your future is solely, okay, I'm going to sit behind the charts every single day, make my money, and I'm just going to be there from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's my life. I have no personal life, I have no family, I have no friends, I have no activities outside of the charts, whatever. Try it and you will see that that's not the way to go. The way to go is by doing the following. You need to define a vision for yourself. Where do you want to work towards? What is your dream? What are your goals? When you have this dream established, I'm telling you, you're going to realize that the goals that you set out for yourself, and that would be your dream life, they're not going to be big enough. You're going to achieve those goals quicker or sooner than you thought you would achieve them. And you will then think to yourself, is this all to life? Is this all there is to this business? And at that moment in time, you realize that the goals that you set out to achieve for yourself were not big enough. And when you come to that stage, you will realize that you need to dream bigger. Think bigger, because when you think bigger, when you begin to think from a perspective of I need to do more because else I won't achieve those goals, you are going to develop at a pace that's absolutely insane. And everyone is around you is going to think and look at you and think, how the F is he able to develop that quickly, and how is he able to perform so well? It's the result of you holding yourself to higher standards that are required in order for you to achieve your dreams. Now, to end this lecture, I'm going to ask you the question. Who is counting on you? Is it your spouse? Is it your children? Is it your parents? Is it a very close friend of yours? Or is it a group of friends of you? Or is it your hometown village? Or whatever it may be. Or whomever it may be, I should say. Who is counting on you? I want you to think about them the next time you are about to open a trade. And you must think to yourself, is what I'm about to do likely going to be the right thing for them as well? Meaning, you know you shouldn't overtrade. You know you shouldn't chase price. You know that you shouldn't be hesitant when you know that all the checkboxes of your protocol have been met. You know that you shouldn't over leverage. All those things you know. And if you then think about that loved one, that image in your mind of that person prior to you taking the trade, what do you think is going to happen? You're automatically going to think, I shouldn't do this, because if they would know what I'm going to do now, they would not think that that is the right thing to do. Because if you want to make an impact on the lives of the people that are counting on you, you must consistently do the right things. You must risk equity efficiently. You must take the proper executions that are in line with your protocol. And that is all there is to do. There's not more than that to do. If you, however, begin to core outside of the boundaries of your protocol due to the wrong reasons, what will happen is that you will hold yourself back, and by holding yourself back, you also hold the lives of those that are counting on you back. Is that worth it? Of course it isn't. Therefore, I want you to think about who is counting on you before you open your next position. With that, this recording or lecture comes to an end. I hope that you found this insightful. I hope that I didn't step on your toes too much. I hope that you've gotten some insights from it. This is the first raw recording of this psychology series. I really enjoy recording these raw lectures. It's still a bit, it takes some time to get used to, of course, for me. But I will do them more often because I think this is the best way for me to also share my experience with you and share all my advice with you when it comes to your development in your mind. I hope that you found this insightful, and I look forward to catching up with you in the next one. Be safe.
silkroad5.com. Buy or sell for free.